A beautiful afternoon for racing here in the Midwest. Fans on their feet as race number 2 of the playoffs is underway. Jeff mentioned they'd be fanning out there in turns 1 and 2, 2 and 3 wide, sometimes 4 and 5 wide on restarts. And already a side-by-side battle for second.
Truex had to get out of the gas there. Larson takes that spot. Now Truex under attack from the 9 car of Chase Elliott down into turn 1 and 2. Chase Elliott going to clear this 19. Truex struggling so far on this first lap.
Ross Chastain in that one. Peeking to the inside of Tyler Reddick in the 45.
They're running right up on Truex, who is struggling right now.
And that is an amazing
really
thing to hear. Because Martin Truex Jr., when you would go to a 1.5-mile racetrack years ago,
oh, look,
he was dominant.
There you hear it over the radio. It's really tight, no grip in the front tires. So when he goes down to the corner, the car doesn't turn. He has to lift. Everybody just comes rushing up from behind, losing multiple spots here.
Bubba Wallace in the 23 also making his way by as the 19 continues to fall back.
You can see already how drivers are trying to run the top. Truex with trouble. That blocks Logano in. Logano actually jumps on the outside of Truex. If you're Truex falling this quickly, you have to wonder if something's wrong. To be as tight as he is, to be losing this many spots this early, I mean, he is slow, so slow through the middle. There's something wrong with that race car.
Well, that's what they said a week ago. Basically, the comments after Darlington where they had a slow qualifying effort and were just okay during the race.
I'm getting a flat or something.
Oh, he's wrecking.
Sure enough, into the wall he goes. The 19. He called it.
Hang up there. Hang up there. Hang up there. Still got about 5 more coming by you.
The caution comes out, and he'll make a hard left turn now as he's coming out of turn 4 and go on to pit road.
This is what we talked about in the whole pre-race show. Kansas, it's in 1.5 miles. It looks so normal. It looks so benign. It's anything but. It's impossible to say why, but this car is destroyed, broken front suspension.
Flat right rear tire looks like from the very beginning of the race. You have to wonder how that tire was cut. But obviously going off in the corner with no grip, the tire goes away, he's into the wall. Lost 4 points last week at Darlington with a miserable day. Comes in here plus 25 to the cut line. It's going to put him right on top of that cut line going into Bristol.
Rick, a great regular season. All of those points used up, and Bristol is not a great track for Martin Truex Jr. next week.
Regular season champion Martin Truex Jr. is going to be out of this race early. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Sonic. $2.99 Buffalo Chicken Dip Bites for limited time only at Sonic. And by Toyota. Let's go places. So a terrible start for Martin Truex Jr. and the 19 team, and luckily they had the most playoff points to start the playoffs, because you can't have an accident like this and hope that you're going to be able to advance.
He was complaining about being tight, and he was losing spots big time. And right there, appears the right rear tire went down, and if the right rear, Steve, was going down all along, then he would have been losing stagger. The car would not have turned the way he wanted it to turn.
Well, so the, question everyone on pit road is going to ask themselves is, this is going to make a nervous garage area more nervous. We saw a couple right rears during practice. Now we have a car that obviously had an issue, goes into the fence. Kim.
And you see Kyle Busch right there. He was complaining just really, really tight. They were at the back of the field, so not really losing any positions, bringing him in for this. So they will put some fresh Goodyear tires on that, as well as make a chassis change. You saw the wrench go in there.
So Steve working on, and looks like they spent a little extra time on the right front as we see Martin's out of the car.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's in just disbelief at this point. Yeah, I mean, the 8 had that issue in practice, repaired their car. So really no harm or foul to come to pit road here. As you mentioned, looks like definitely making some big adjustments to the front. So back to what we were saying on that, the right rear tire. I mean, we have seen, listen, so here's the situation when it comes to the rear tires at these high-speed racetracks. There is an advantage to running the air pressures lower. The back of the car gets lower. There's stops in the shocks that limit how much you can travel the back of the car. But if you take air out of your tire, it squishes more. The diffuser gets lower. It adds downforce. You go faster. This is no different than everything that's happened in racing since the beginning of time. It used to be low right front air, Jeff, mostly in your day, right, would make the car turn better. And I was one of those crew chiefs, like most, that kind of went after that fruit. And the question is where that line is for these teams.
Yeah, it's always a line. It's always risk versus reward. But that tire went down super early. Normally when a tire is low on air pressure, Steve, wouldn't it be a little longer before it failed? It just makes me wonder if something else was happening.
Yeah, another issue or a slow leak or a different issue.
Well, Martin wanted to be out there on the racetrack a whole lot longer, because this is a race where his foundation is honoring cancer heroes as well as the NASCAR Foundation. And on the door for Martin Truex Jr. was Jeanette von Lemke, who just passed away from cancer after her 3rd battle. And she was nominated by Robert Albury, who said, "My mom was a big NASCAR fan, especially Martin Truex Jr." And so wanted to give her a little bit better ride than that today, but obviously honoring the cancer heroes today on all the cars.
An amazing program that Martin Truex Jr. with his foundation, the NASCAR Foundation, partner up. We saw them on the trucks, on the Xfinity cars, on the Cup cars. You can go online and bid basically to put a name, to honor a name on the side of these cars. It's a great moment where sports, we talk about playoffs and everything that's on the line, and that kind of brings it all back around, that this really is sports. It's entertainment. We love it. But these are real people and real stories. A great job by both foundations.
So the cars line back up again, 2 by 2, as you mentioned, Steve. Quite a few crew chiefs, maybe even drivers, a little bit nervous about what they've seen this early in a run for Martin Truex Jr. to have a tire issue. We saw a few cars make their way onto pit road and getting ready for the restart. Christopher Bell on the inside, Kyle Larson on the outside. Great restart for Kyle Larson. Look at him shoot around the outside. Is he going to take the lead away from Bell? Fighting for that 3rd spot, the 9 of Chase Elliott, also up here contending.
Chastain on the inside there, battling for 3rd. Trying to side draft the 9 car, Chase Elliott. Side by side behind him, Bubba Wallace with a big run.
William Byron back there as well, the 24.
See the 12 car on Blaney, he went to the very bottom on the restart, trying to get some spots, and they jumped up on the outside of him. Can he stay there and pick up spots, or will he lose them because of it?
Reddick, or Bubba Wallace, dove down to the inside of Chase Elliott, pushed Chase up the racetrack. Now Chase loses another couple spots to his teammate William Byron. Slide jobs him a little bit right there off into turn one. Reddick with a slide job as well at the racetrack, just taking the air away. It's going to cost him a little momentum. Byron back to the inside, down into turn three, dives down into the corner. Wraps right around the bottom. It's going to clear him up off of turn four. Great battle right here among these drivers. Chase almost got in the wall right there. I think he might have, losing a lot of momentum. Here comes Dillon. Chase struggling here the last couple of laps.
Anytime you got to come off that throttle, leaving the corner, they're going to run up on you big time. Got to be able to carry that speed. Here it is.
So he gets tight right here. Gets right in the tracks of Reddick and instantly loses a lot of front grip, and the car takes off up the racetrack, but I believe avoided any hard contact there, Parker.
And Dale, he had come on the radio right that first caution came out and said, I'm way tighter than we expected. He was able to use the bottom. It turned, but being forced to the top there in a couple laps there after that restart, it just wouldn't turn. And obviously you saw he lost the nose even more so when he didn't have the clean air on the front.
Nose to tail, we see Chase Elliott just in front of Austin Dillon and Ryan Blaney running still different lines here. Martin Truex Jr. now below the cut line. As you see points as they run, so everybody else out on the racetrack will be fighting for positions, but we know that Martin Truex Jr. is going to finish this race in 36th. Kyle Busch, after starting at the back of the pack, has been making some moves since the restart.
He's not going anywhere fast. He's up to 30th right now, making a pass on it, trying to make a pass on Amarola.
And Joe Logano, top of the screen, taking a spot away right there as we move back toward the front. Bubba Wallace gets around Chastain. 23 here looks really good. Headed down the back straightaway, chasing down Bell for second.
Let's check in with Martin Truex Jr. He's standing by with Kim.
Yeah, early exit for Martin Truex Jr. What happened and what was the car giving you in terms of feedback?
Yeah, just really unfortunate, very unlucky. You know, it took off really tight, knew something was up, and then blew a right rear. So not really sure what happened. Obviously, it blew in the worst place possible. So just, man, I hate it for my guys. And we had an awesome race car. We were going to have a really good day. Just not real sure what we need to do to get some luck right now.
What kind of situation does this put you in for Bristol?
We'll find out, you know, when today's over. I mean, it's not a thing we can do about it right now.
Yeah, Bristol's been a tough racetrack for Martin. Last top five was March of 2012. So needing to make some ground up, not going to one of his favorite racetracks.
He does bring up a good point, though. He can't answer the question yet because, you know, with 250 laps to go, we have seen absolute chaos at this racetrack. Now, he's the first one that it has struck, but who else will kind of get involved as the race continues?
Yeah, the possibility exists. Someone else can get shuffled back to them. Two Fords fighting here between Chris Buescher and Joey Logano. Chris Buescher, one of the hottest drivers over the past 6 races, won 3 of them. Riding along with Logano and his Coke Zero Sugar on board.
Yeah, Buescher and those guys have struggled a little bit in practice, but that's Buescher moving forward in this race, trying to claw himself toward the top 10 in this first stage to gather some points. Logano and all of Penske, when they showed up for practice, all of them went out there, ran a few laps, came right to pit road for adjustments. So Penske cars weren't very comfortable when they unloaded. Working hard in this race, trying to improve. Austin Dillon moving around a little bit there, trying to get on the inside of Blaney.
See the 11 of Denny Hamlin back there. He won in May right here at this racetrack. A new confidence out of Denny Hamlin, even though right now he's running in that 10th position.
Well, does new confidence come with a new contract? Is that what happens, right?
Right,
It's a
possibly.
big week, multi-year extension at Joe Gibbs Racing.
But this highlights right here how hard it is to pass on this racetrack on the bottom. The 12 a little bit slower. The 11 of Hamlin Austin Dillon a little bit quicker, but trying to make that pass on the bottom. Hamlin may be able to do it diving down into turn 1 here, and he's going to slide up the track here. If not, the 12's getting back to his outside. He's able to stop that from happening. Everybody in front of him, the top probably 6 to 8 cars, all running right on the wall, the fast way around this racetrack as we move back in the field here.
There's Harvick on the outside of Alex Bowman. Harvick right up against the wall, as you can see from the Hunt Brothers Pizza camera.
I talked to Kevin Harvick this morning. He was not very optimistic about his race car. In practice, just way too tight. The car did not turn the way he wanted it to. They were obviously making as many changes as they could, but he said they were going to have to get a lot better than they were.
His comments right before the race to Parker Kligerman were, we're going to have to grind through this one. I like that attitude. He knows the car's going to make him frustrated. He's going to have a tough day behind the wheel, but he's mentally ready to work through this day and get the best they can. We watched Chastain lose another spot to Byron there. Byron had a little issue in practice. Right front suspension component had to be replaced, but the speed is in that car.
Speaking of speed.
Man, well, that was such a big gap to Christopher Bell that he has erased in just a couple of laps.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace now has taken over the 2nd spot. He took it away from the fastest car on the racetrack. As far as the fastest lap, I want to take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap, and that's Christopher Bell on lap 2. Averaged over 176 miles an hour for a lap around this 1.5 miles.
Well, what you're seeing is just what Kyle Larson told us in the pre-race, which is, I don't really know. I think my car is good, but you don't really get a long run in practice. And here we are. Oh, what are we, 18 laps on this set of tires? It looks like Bell's fallen a little bit. I'm sure they'll make adjustments, but getting a better read on their race car.
I think Bell, yeah, they're struggling a little bit, but that's just how fast Bubba Wallace is. And at 23, he's kind of drove through this top 5 here.
There's a comfort when you go to a racetrack that you've won at before, and Bubba has been dominant here at this track before, but he's definitely on the move up to 2nd already. Everyone's still chasing after Kyle Larson. He's been out front for 15 laps. NASCAR Drive is your live race day companion. You can follow your favorite drivers with access to their in-car cameras. Choose some of the alternate camera angles as well. Visit NASCAR.com/driver. You can download the NASCAR mobile app to watch all of the action. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, presented by Applebee's. Still up front is Kyle Larson. He has a 3-second lead right now over Bubba Wallace as we look off of the Celsius onboard camera of Justin Haley.
So there's two things here, right? You're looking right off the right rear spoiler of Haley, but you're also listening to a microphone that's right around the quarter panel. We had this on Reddick's car at Darlington, and he went ahead, gave it a few tests against the wall. You could really hear the contact. And I want to thank the College organization and Celsius for not only providing this camera, but let's put that mic in there, try to give the fans just a little more accurate sound of what it's like when you jump over those last 4 or 5 inches to the wall.
And Haley behind the wheel here. And you think it's a good move for Justin Haley next year, Rick Ware Racing?
Well, I mean, he did it early in the season, which tells me he believes in it. And I think when you look about a driver like Justin Haley who's trying to improve his career, he obviously had heard something when he sat down with Rick Ware Racing that he believes in that organization and where they're going, because Kaulig is obviously very committed to their race team. So I think Justin Haley is a huge get for Rick Ware. And Dale Jr. said at the weekend announced, this says a lot about where Rick Ware is going, right, Junior? I mean, Haley is a big get for that organization who normally sees a rotation of drivers.
Yeah, typically when we think about that team, it's kind of, you know, they typically run in the back half of the field, the back few positions in every race. But this year, they've really stepped up their program. We've seen a lot of teams try to improve what they're doing on the racetrack. Rick Ware Racing, one of those, starting to get some relatively reasonable runs. And I think this is a step in the direction to get even better. You watch Denny Hamlin taking a spot away from Chase Elliott out there on the racetrack. Denny kind of slowly moving forward. He sees his own cars, Bubba Wallace and Reddick, they're running in the top 10. He's trying to move his way forward.
And somebody else is moving forward. I said a little bit ago that this 8-car, Kyle Busch, wasn't going anywhere fast. Well, he heard me and said, yes, I am. And now he has driven up to 17th and has really good pace.
Yeah, we look here at the Ashley Furniture drivers on the move, and Kyle Busch has moved the most. 18 since the start of this race, positions gained. So after tagging the wall in practice with a right rear tire that went down, they fixed that car, and now he is on the move. Chris Buescher currently running in the 12th position with teammate Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, they're showing some reasonable speed. The 17 car up to 12th, chasing after Austin Dillon there right in front of him.
Steve, you had mentioned earlier that first pit stop window would open about now, maybe a couple laps from here.
Yeah, I thought 35 was it without a yellow, but just on cue. Rick, did you see this and ask, or ask
no,
and see? How lucky did you get?
I think I got pretty lucky, Parker.
And this is a trend, Steve, this short pitting trend we're starting to see in the NASCAR Cup Series is the talk of the garage amongst all the crew chiefs. How early would you get to pit road and feel okay about it? 38 was considered optimal. This is a bit sooner than that, as you see the 22 of Joe Logano on pit road here. Not exactly happy with the handling of that race car. You saw the adjustment in the right rear, and he's away. But we're the first on pit road. We'll see how this plays off for them.
Well, and with that, Keselowski, this is a great shot right off the front bumper of what it takes to get to pit road. Why does this get everybody off their plan? Because Joey Logano is going to go out there and run an easy second faster or more than the cars on old tires, Dave.
And Steve, until the end of the race, Brad Keselowski doesn't plan to make a lot of time in the high line. He might lose just fractions of seconds per lap that way, but strategy like this are the kind of things that can take Brad forward from where he started. Matt McCall making the shot here to get 4 Goodyear tires and fuel. Parker?
Michael McDowell also on pit road, struggling with being a bit tight in that race car. Felt like it may have come to him on the long run, but you see that adjustment in the window there. Also, as you see down pit road, all these cars coming down. They cannot be out there too long on those older tires, so they'll fall way back in track position, including the 11 of Denny Hamlin, who was very happy with this race car. As you see 4 Goodyear tires going on his race car. Below him, the 9 of Chase Elliott on pit road. We talked about how he was too tight. He said it was tighter than he expected. That car just not turning, but it came to a little better on the long run, Kim.
And Kevin Harvick finishing up service. He said off turn 2, the back was just way too light, but the front turning well. They did make a right rear adjustment on that. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel for Kevin Harvick.
See the 20 on pit road as well. Christopher Bell. We'll see how their crew does.
And you see Ryan Blaney right there. He was responding just way way too loose, and it built looser. He was struggling mightily. They made a chassis adjustment, 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Pole sitter Christopher Bell at the fire off the initial green flag laps. The car was tight. Slight adjustment for that in the 20. Meanwhile, race leader Kyle Larson now comes to pit road. His 5 car started to get loose around lap 24. That was a report, but obviously still doing very fast time for Goodyear Tires and Fuel, Parker.
Going a bit later than his competitors here, the 23 of Bubba Wallace. They had that track position to play with. Very happy inside that race car as he drove into second place, kid.
And for Kyle Busch, this will be his second stop of the day. He said it fired off better after those first adjustments, but then trended freer and freer, both free in and free outside adjustment for the 8 as they take Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
Green flag pit stops continue to cycle through. Sheldon Creed making his first start. He's on pit road now in the 78. About 2.3 seconds was the gap when they came onto pit road.
Yeah, and I thought Bubba Wallace did a really nice job chasing the 5 onto pit road. You know, the old I-chronometer, Dale, looked like the 23 gained a little time. We'll see if it cycles around as we ride on board with the Toyota onboard and Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to net out about the same distance between them and, you know, before they pitted in now. But yeah, I saw the same thing you did, Letarte. Bubba much more aggressive. Let's take a look. 5's right up there in front of him. See how much Bubba gains? Pushing the car all the way. I don't think you could do that any better. I really don't.
Oh, I love it. I agree.
So he's about 2.5 seconds back. Coming down the back straightaway, entering pit road, though, he gained so much time just being aggressive. Unfortunately, between the stop and the exit of pit road, Larson was able to gain that time back.
Well, the date is reset, and basically, if you look at from the end of the backstretch to the commitment line, Bubba Wallace did accomplish that 0.6 of a second faster. So what you saw is real, Dale. Wasn't a full second, but definitely a gain by the 23. To your point, you know, between the pit stop and everything else, it kind of netted out about equal. Pit stop, really, yeah. The 5 car had a 1 second faster pit stop. So good work by Bubba Wallace, countered by better work of the 5 pit crew. Remember, that's how Larson won his championship. I know it's years ago, but it was a first off pit road at Phoenix that put Kyle Larson to a championship, and that's you know, that's a dangerous thing when you have one of the faster cars also having one of the better pit crews. Let's listen into the 12 of Blaney about pit stops.
Wait a lap forward, not behind these guys, man. Before that was 39 laps, we got 41 to go here. Been trying to pass these guys off. On.
So Blaney always gives us some colorful radio. He has a short temper, but this is what he's discussing. Look in front of him. He was in front of the 6. He was in front of the 17 of Buescher. So, Jeff, you and I have this conversation. Math says you want to pit at a certain number. That's what engineering says. But what Blaney is complaining about is that's fine. But Kim, you have also lost track position. You are now 2 cars further back, and now you're going to lose time while you try to pass the 6.
Obviously not what they wanted, and a very frustrated Ryan Blaney, and this isn't the first time that we see him get hot-headed behind the wheel. So I asked crew chief Jonathan Hassler what he does in these moments, and he said he cannot get baited by Blaney being upset. The best thing Jonathan can do is to just be silent and try and get Blaney to refocus himself in these moments of flared tempers.
Playoff driver getting frustrated early. There's still 36 laps to go in the first stage after green flag pit stops. Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace cycled back to the front. The race to 1 million is heating up in the NASCAR Powerball Playoff. 16 fans, they're locked in for the chance to win a VIP trip to NASCAR Championship Weekend and a $1 million grand prize. Powerball, the official lottery game of NASCAR and home of the NASCAR Powerball Playoff. It's NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, the Hollywood Casino 400. Larson out in front. Now the gap only 1.1 seconds in front of Bubba Wallace. He continues to click off the fastest laps that have been run. The last time by, he was fastest with a 31:56 as far as his lap time. Byron, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick all part of the top 5.
Yeah, only one caution so far today, and it was for the 19 of Truex. It was slow from the start. We heard him in his interview. He had an issue. We've heard from Goodyear that they found a puncture in the center of the tire. So Jeff brought up, hey, what happened? What happened to the right rear tire? Because it's clear that he goes down in, right rear goes down. You see the smoke out of the back of the car. So the question is, why does it go down? Well, Goodyear has said they've examined the tire, and there is a puncture in the center of the tread. So when Truex says we just need a little luck, you know, I'm not a big believer in luck, but I have to agree with Mark Truex Jr. there, because when you start having a flat tire by running something over in the first couple laps of the race, I don't know what else to say other than just bad luck.
Dave, how about Larson?
How about 2 weeks in a row, Rick, right? The win last weekend at Darlington, and now another track where you can ride the high line and show off your goods there. Kyle Larson is doing it again, but crew chief Cliff Daniels is keeping him very aware of Bubba Wallace, who runs just over a second behind.
Only thing I see right now is the 23 is pulling off the wall, center off of 3 and 4 just a little bit more than we are. I don't know if that'll help or hurt you.
Pulling off the wall a little sooner, center off. That's just information to Kyle. He did not respond. He has the info. He can use it if he wants. Parker?
And Dave, I had an interesting conversation with Booty Barker, who's the crew chief on the 23 of Bubba Wallace. When talking about using that wall, I said, you know, that's a bit of forbidden fruit in the position you guys are coming in this race. They were 1 point below the playoff cut line. I said, do you use that? He said, we've been able to make speed away from it. We don't want to get up there too much and put ourselves in a dangerous position. So as Cliff Daniels observed, the 23 may be getting away from the wall. That's by design of finding speed, but also trying to protect that race car over the course of this whole race and make sure they get all the points possible with this 23 team, as he's very happy inside the race car, as you can tell, catching the leader of Kyle Larson.
Larson right here trying to get around some lap car. Gibbs right there in the 54.
Looked like Gibbs almost surprised him coming down off of turn 4.
Yeah, well, I just think Gibbs was trying to stay on the lead lap, but he's, you know, struggling with the car a little bit. But that's allowing that 23, or allowing the opportunity for the 23 to run the 5 down. And here's a couple more lap cars in front of him. 7 and the 14 side by side. So the 5 has to back the corner up. It's a dirty area that he's in between both cars, taking up both lanes. He's going to run a little bit lower than he's usually running, but look at the momentum. So much faster than these cars struggling back in the pack.
Well, it shows you the pace also. That's 25th and 24th in front of him. We're not that far into this race and lapping up into the mid-20s already.
Bubba's car seemed to have just fell right off or flat-lined. He was running down Larson by a lot, probably 2-3 tenths a lap. But I thought when Larson caught this traffic, it would make it easier for Bubba to get there. But Bubba has not been able to use this traffic to close the gap.
Well, Junior, you know, I've never run the top, so I can't say what it's like, but I've watched you run the top for years. And I will tell you, looking at lap time, that's where I think the top and being good at the top really pays off. We just heard that report from Bubba Wallace not needing to run the top, but I think Larson doing it lap after lap does leave a little tire life, and I wonder if that's not what we see later in the run as we see Chastain and the 43 battling.
43 cars continuing to drive up through the field, and that's a great point, Steve. I think the closer you run to the wall, the better your car turns, the easier it is on the right front tire. These cars tend to build tighter over the run, so maybe Bubba running a little bit off the wall is built a little bit tighter, now struggling in this lap traffic that Larson was able to get through quickly.
Kim, are we seeing a new sign of Chastain and their strength in these playoffs?
I would say so, and you know, every driver finds motivation from a different place, and for Ross Chastain, currently running in the 8th position, he has daily inspiration at the shop. The entry to Trackhouse Racing's parking lot has the number 235 painted on the asphalt, the curbs marked with the color of Phoenix Raceway's track walls. That's because last year, Ross lost the championship race to Joey Logano by just 230 35 feet. Earlier this year, you see the employees walking that line. They walked it together. They wrote on a piece of paper what they will do to try to help the company improve. The goal for all of that, Justin Marks wanted to create, was a championship forward mindset for every single Trackhouse employee, and we have turned up the wick for this team. A 5th finish last week at Darlington, and right now running in the top 10.
Kim, that is such a great work by Justin Marks of adding some motivation, but I want to add on that 5th place a week ago. When I talked to Chastain pre-Darlington, he said, I got to do better than the spring. The spring I had a winning car, I damaged it, and I overdrove it, wrecked with Larson. We remember Rick Hendrick calling him out and all of that stuff through the summer. He said, hey, I got to take what the car will give me. That's exactly what he did. A lap down last week early, didn't overdrive it all the way to 5th. It may not show up in the record books as an impressive drive or one of his better drives, but my opinion, that was an evolving driver behind the wheel of the 1 car.
And Trackhouse Racing using a visual, just how close it was to a championship. All the employees see it every day they come to work. Kyle Larson out in front with side-by-side battle as Reddick trying to get by the 24 of Byron here in Kansas. Second caution of the day, and it comes out for another playoff driver, the 24 of William Byron spinning around, but actually the 3 of Austin Dillon got into the wall first. Take a look.
The 3 car coming off the corner just snaps loose right there, overcorrects right into the wall. All the debris coming off the car. That was going to be a yellow eventually, but just right after this is when the 24 spins in just about the same spot.
Yeah, this right here just shows you how slick the racetrack is. Car is losing grip with the back tires. And then here you go, William Byron. He's in the gas, trying to make some speed, racing with Christopher Bell, and around it comes.
Yes, we need that radio. Erie, almost the same spot. Gets fortunate, doesn't really hit anything on the 24. Let's listen to what the 24 had to say.
I don't think I hit anything. I don't think I even got the tail. Yeah, I just was spilling to the right rear, and I knew I had to back it down, but yeah, too much.
All right, so we saw the debris off the 3, and I was wondering if it had anything to do with one another. But guys, after hearing that radio, you drivers have been over there before. It looked like separate incidents, just happened to be in the same area.
Yeah, pretty surprised by the 24 losing it right there, but just pushing really hard. These cars, they've changed so much in just a matter of a year. That was a very lazy, slow spin that we typically weren't seeing out of this race car, this next-gen car. When they first unveiled it, the cars were just snapping, just kind of like the 3 crash looked. But again, that rack and pinion steering and quick steering and the overcorrection of the 3, A lot of drivers still having some struggles behind that, getting behind on the wheel, Kim.
And do not count this 24 of William Byron out. You saw him snap loose, but in the spring race here, they had a myriad of issues, one of which being loose. They hit the wall in that race, spent majority of the race 2 laps down. The car was so good, they got all their laps back, rallied to finish 3rd. Rudy Fugle told me this morning they brought an exact similar setup this weekend. So again, the 24, we'll have to watch what he's able to do after that loose incident.
Yeah, these race cars, they're on edge anyway, and this racetrack is really slick. And on these 1.5 miles, a lot of drivers, it's really interesting to me, with an older car, they would always build tight, but these cars tend to build really loose, and that's what the Penske guys say, is that they get their cars, they drive good early, but then they go loose, and then you lose control of the back of the car.
Kim.
And Tyler Reddick, top left in that 45 car, he said to fire off, the balance was a little tight. Then as the run went on, it was a positive. So neutral balance on the 45 4-tire Sunoco fuel. Parker.
It was a little different for the 23 of Bubba Wallace trying to chase down Kyle Larson there. He said he was just building too free like we heard some of the other drivers talking about, and he was actually using the lap cars to tighten that race car up the best he could, Dave.
Kyle Larson has led all but 9 laps. No changes in the 5-car except 4 Goodyear tires. As for Christopher Bell, the change hurt the front and didn't help the back that they made on that green flag pit stop.
Bubba Wallace beats Kyle Larson off of pit road. Pretty good stop for Christopher Bell with that #1 pit stall. He was racing right there when the 24 went around. You're watching NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, presented by Applebee's. Tonight, East Rutherford, New Jersey, division rivals will clash. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys visit Saquon Barkley and the Giants. Coverage beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern with Football Night in America on NBC and Peacock. Dave, we saw the 17 make his way back onto pit road. What's going on?
So Chris Buescher was on and off pit road for a loose left front wheel. He knew it as soon as he left the pit. Just talked to Scott Graves. They don't think there was any damage done because he rolled slowly around the track, but they had to come back in and reaffix that left front tire. Guys, remember last week, Chris Buescher pitting at Darlington had a fire in the pits. Look at this. And when he left, the fire went out. but that was rear tire changer Patterson and fueler Walker in the mix right there. They still did their jobs, and they're back at it today. Their part of the pit stop here went well here today, even though the front didn't go so good, but that's what can happen. Thankfully, no one was injured.
Yeah, this is the Instagram footage that NASCAR, RFK, this has been. And watch this right here. The rear changer, Dalton Leonard, comes around, and as soon as he hits, spark. You see it go down, catch the fuel on fire. They actually interviewed the changer, and he said that he just didn't get a good plug. And now this is the last pit stop for the 24. Same thing. You see sparks in the rear, catches the fuel on fire, catches the tire changer on fire. There's fire on his left arm, his left quad. It is dangerous on pit road. The tire changer from last week, Busher, there you go. There's Oren Osawoski, the rear tire changer for 24, telling AMR, nope, I'm all set. Chad Knaus checking on his man, so pit road, pressure's on for the drivers in the playoffs. Pressure's on for the pit crews. Impressive work in tough conditions.
Yeah, such tough conditions. Hope everyone's all right there from pit road as we get ready for the restart. There'll be 11 laps to go in stage 1. Bubba Wallace trying to take advantage of a great pit stop. Can he stay out in front of the 5 of Larson? A good push from the 20. Christopher Bell trying to take advantage of his good pit stop as well.
Larson makes that bottom work. He's made the top work. Now the bottom. You see Bubba Wallace trying to block any run from Christopher Bell. Christopher to the outside. 23 and 20 side by side. Off of turn 4 down the front straightaway.
Bubba all the way down to the grass, running on the apron there as he crossed the finish line. Under 10 to go now in stage 1. 3 wide here. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Michael McDowell. Fighting for stage points. Top 10 receive them at the end of the stage. Who's going to get them? Larson now with a 3-car length advantage over Bubba Wallace. Bell, Chastain, and Reddick all in the top 5.
This is a great opportunity for these drivers and teams to push hard on a 10-lap run as if it was late in the race. Learn what your car does for 10 laps, 12 laps. It's not unusual to have a late race restart. The changes and what you learn now could help you win this race later.
Talk about the playoffs and the requirement of everybody to step up. We'll think about this. One of the playoff drivers is out in Truex Jr. The other 15 occupy positions inside the top 17, now top 18. So playoff drivers all at the front of the field.
Chase Elliott making the pass on the 11 of Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, this is all right back in the backside of the top 10. That's a non-playoff driver, taking away a few playoff points from some playoff drivers. Look at this 4-car, though. Kevin Harvick, he said it would be a grind today. He's right there in the backside of the top 10. It's only 1 playoff point. If he can pass Hamlin, that's 2. But that's how you do it. When you don't have the car that you want or the car that's comfortable, a workhorse like that guy in the 4-car, he can come out here and get something out of a day like that.
I don't think anyone's been surprised to see the 5 out in front as the battle for second continues here between Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell. But Larson was running a great race earlier in the year when he was here, and then the last lap contact from Denny Hamlin took the win away from him. But coming off of Darlington, we knew that that 5 team was very strong as the playoffs began.
Great 3-wide battle right here that's continuing through turns 1 and 2. A.J. Allmendinger on the outside. Gonna be able to stay there. Some contact. 43 trying to come up the racetrack just a little bit. Eric Jones. A.J. was not wanting to give that outside line up. Bowman fighting on the bottom in the 48 car.
Alex Bowman maybe a little aggressive blocking against Suarez at Darlington a week ago. That was late in the race, 5 laps to go.
Yeah, this first block from Bowman was okay, but that second block was just excessive. This late in the year, 2 guys not in the playoffs have had frustrating years, and this is what you see. A little bit of that is, hey, I'm not going to lift. It's too late in the year. I'm too frustrated. I need this spot. We'll see more of that as this year winds down.
Now only 4 to go. We see Bowman still running in the 16th spot, Kim.
And as we talk about that Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez incident last week, I checked in with both the teams this morning to see how they're feeling. For Alex Bowman, that team, they said they have forgotten it. They are just looking forward. But for the 99 team, crew chief Travis Mack told me their memory is strong and they are still salty about what happened last weekend.
Yeah, it's, you know, these things happen and drivers have conflict with each other, and eventually you got to get over it. You got to focus on you and your team and move forward.
Under 3 laps to go as Blaney, who was frustrated earlier.
I think Blaney's got to be pretty happy with his car, Rick. I talked to him this morning. He had also not very high expectations, was concerned coming into this race that his car was going to be good enough. And here he is sitting here running 5th with 2 laps to go in this stage.
Yeah, things turned around for him as he's going to try to take the spot away from Chastain, that 4th position that Chastain holds.
Got some momentum down the back straightaway, Rick. It's not going to really look to the inside here, but Chastain keeps giving them the outside line. Now Chastain up the racetrack, taking away the air of the 12 knees to be able to maximize the speed there. A little bit of a push from the 45 of Reddick down this front straightaway. They're going to draft up on the back bumper of this one car. Now you got to decide in the corner where you're going to go. Where does the one go so I can go to the other part of the racetrack, the one up the racetrack, 12 to the bottom.
Blaney fighting. He's a car length away now. Again, there's another point that he could potentially gain now. A big run for Chastain as Larson is going to win his 4th stage of 2023 and at Kansas. Larson gets the stage 1 win. Bubba Wallace is second bell. Chastain and Blaney top 5. Reddick, Hamlin, Keselowski, Elliott, and Harvick all finishing in the top 10 of stage 1. It was an eventful first stage. Playoff drivers, Martin Truex Jr. An issue with the right rear tire goes down. He goes into the wall, as does Austin Dillon and another playoff driver. As the 24 spins, Larson wins. Building the next generation of U.S. Navy submarines means stable, sustaining jobs across the country. If you want to work with purpose, we're looking for you. Visit buildsubmarines.com for career and training opportunities. Brad Keselowski being scored 8th now after stage 1, as everyone getting ready to come to pit road. Followed the 5 of Larson ends up winning the stage, but the first into their stall is going to be the 1 of Chastain.
He finishes 4th. He told us in Countdown to Green how important stage points were. Mission accomplished. Still 2 free on that Chevrolet. In fact, a 3 out of 5 2 free. They will make an air pressure adjustment for tires and fuel, Parker.
In the top right of your screen, Bubba Wallace hits his pit stall there. A big stage 1, getting 2nd place points. This 23 team request the continue tires and Sunoco fuel, Dave.
Stage winner Kyle Larson said, I could stand to be a little bit freer on throttle. His service is done. As for Christopher Bell, that was a lot more comfortable than what they had before. Taking a little time to make sure the 20's right. That was a long stop.
And chaos getting off of pit road. You see Larson and Wallace staying in their spots, but Bell, after that pit crew change, 5 spots lost on pit road. 5 gained by McDowell. We'll line them back up in the restart. Stage 2 is underway next. The official app of NASCAR Tracks has the latest race and event information from your favorite tracks. Search NASCAR Tracks in the App Store to download for free and start using today. We'll all be looking at that as I get ready to change my fantasy lineup. You'll have to do that as well before the end of stage 2. All right, issues on pit road, Steve, once again.
Well, Blaney comes inside the top 5 right here. You see left front issues. They jack it back up, which I applaud, because that's about the only way you can make sure these tires are tight. You can't really tighten them while they're on the ground. That's a concern for the 20 of Bell. A slow stop, but watch this. Everybody leaves. Tire change, it comes back around, tightens the right rear. We'll keep an eye on that. These tires, if they're not tight when the weight of the car sits on it, the way just the geometry works with the 1 lug nut and the size of the wheel, the aluminum wheel, I've seen very unsuccessful attempts of tightening them with the weight of the car. We're going to have to see what happens with the 20. Blaney loses over 10 spots. Bell is now just barely inside the top 10, and it has been a rough season for the 20 of Christopher Bell on pit road and on the racetrack. Great car at Chicago, just in a little deep and into the tire barrier.
Yeah, it hasn't been a lack of speed, but a lot of accidents, a lot of issues, bad pit stops. This is Michigan.
And then at Darlington, Dale, this is a new pit crew, same results.
There he is right here, gets caught up in this crash after the problems on pit road, lost them a ton of track position.
With more on the 20, Dave.
Yeah, and you saw the double clutch there by the rear tire changer. The team told me that absolutely he just, as he walked away, or as he was about running away to the other side of the car, didn't feel right about it, knew that it wasn't right, so came back and tightened it. And Steve, like you said, we'll have to see with the weight of the car on that tire, is it truly tight?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, speed of these stops anymore. We're talking a great stop is under 9 seconds. So little time spent at each corner. The decision making is really being tested.
Steve, what do you think he saw though? Because he hit the nut, he got up to start to run, and then decided, wait a minute, I'm going to go back and hit it again. Do you see something that would send you back there?
I don't know if you see something or you feel something or you just don't have a good feel about it. And there you go with the best pit crews this season. That 54 Ty Gibbs crew is the crew that's on the 20 now. But you know, the struggle I have is I think it's more of the approach. Are you trying to go as fast as you can, or are you just trying to have solid stops? So, you know, Rick, I don't know what it is that made him go back, but obviously he has reps and reps and reps, and there was something. So now we'll just have to keep in mind when we watch the 20 right here to see if that right rear stays secure and allows Bell to do what he needs to do as he tries to make up a couple positions.
You know, when you think about this 20 car, Christopher Bell, they really only had one clean race. Watkins Glen finished third like in the last 9 or 10 races, and all year long it's been going on, and that's their weakness. They've got to fix it if they're going to move into the next round of the playoffs.
Larson chooses the bottom again. Made that work the last restart.
Two fastest cars have been Larson and Bubba Wallace. We'll see how they do on this restart as stage 2 is now underway.
Look at the organization on the bottom of the racetrack, the push from the 9. This should get that 5-car clear before turn 1. Chase will be in a little bit of dirty air. The 5 up the racetrack just slightly, might be helping that 9 car get a little downforce. Now he's moving down the racetrack.
Trying to side draft on the 23.
They'll do tires. The bottom lane works really well. Chase Elliott a good run. Bubba Wallace a little bit better run. Chase lines up in front of him.
And I'll tell you, that right there was a lot of help from Kyle Larson. I think Larson was doing everything he could to assist his teammate on that first lap out in front of this field.
See Ross Chastain hugging the white line as well. Slides up behind the 23 of Bubba Wallace. Chase Elliott, a successful season now, beginning to victory lane. Running second here at Kansas, teammate Kyle Larson. Door-to-door for position, Hamlin and Keselowski. That's for 6th. Brad Keselowski takes the spot away.
Bubba with a big run off turn 2, drives into turn 3. He's going to use all the racetrack and pretty easily make the pass. The pass happened in turn 3, but it all started with a great run off turn 2.
So now Wallace back up into the 2nd spot. Here just how long he is on the gas as we see William Byron, who had spun earlier, in front of the 48 of Bowman.
We just have to keep in mind with that 24 why he didn't hit the wall or anything when he spun. So much aerodynamics, you know, are made underneath the car with some of the vertical straights and things. It's just going to be hard to tell if he really has any damage as we see a battle between the 11 of Hamlin on the bottom and the purple Yahoo car and Brad Keselowski in the 6 up top.
Brad's going to stay in this fight down the back straightaway. Take that away from Denny.
Bumper clear, big arc to the bottom.
Spotter TJ Majors helping Brad Keselowski get to the bottom of the track. 6 cars hanging around the top 10 here, Dave.
They are, you see from the BuildSubmarines.com camera there, as you watch this battle between Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain. It's going to be Chastain staying to the high side. Rick, we'll talk about Keselowski in a minute. Let's send it back to you for that battle.
Yeah, Reddick was able to get by Chastain. We'll see if he tries a crossover move. Chastain now right on his back bumper. Down to the bottom of the racetrack. Will he try the slide job? It doesn't look like he's going to have enough momentum to clear him. And Reddick right up against the boards.
I tell you, Ross Chastain in this one car, they got to be happy with the speed coming into the playoffs. They were kind of limping. They weren't showing that they could race in the top 5, top 10 on a consistent basis, but here today, they're right there. I know they're not right now have winning speed, but they have good enough speed to get done what they need to get done.
This fight's not over as Hamlin now side drafts Keselowski, pulls him back and clears him. We'll see if Keselowski can get that momentum back and fight for the spot. Parker.
And Denny had just come on the radio and saying he was too tight in traffic a little bit. But before they went green under this caution, his crew chief, Chris Gabart, had a really interesting comment to Denny. He said, hey, we need 1 second over your 40-lap run, referencing the run that most of these teams will do in these stages, about 40 laps on a set of tires. We need 1 second to be competitive to that 5 car. I don't want you to make a mistake, but I want you to have that info. We need a second over the whole run, Dave.
Parker, Brad Keselowski is staying mistake-free so far. We heard T.J. Major's voice on the radio a little earlier. He really praised him because that run higher on the exit of 4 information that T.J. gave him really helped him on that last run. But he did say, I don't feel like I'm good anywhere. I don't feel like I'm really bad anywhere. Just kind of okay right now for the 6th. But Rick, that is better than what they were here in the spring.
Yeah, okay for the 6th. Steve, you had mentioned earlier about RFK and really needing to find something. Are they finding it?
Well, I think they are. They have great speed, and it's been a great week for Brad Keselowski. We talked to him the other night, and he was at, all right, Chiefs fans, don't hate on me, but he was at the Chiefs-Detroit game. He was a huge Lions fan. Took a few friends, took Brad, his spotter as well, I believe. They went there, and Brad said, it was like the Super Bowl. We didn't think we had a chance, and then we won the game. He was in great spirits. And in the playoffs and the pressure and everything on these guys, I think it's great to prepare, but it's also great to have a distraction. And look at look at this. That's Brad. That's the biggest smile you're going to see out of Brad. That's awesome.
You used a great word there, distraction. With all the things that Brad has going on right now, with owning a race team, driving in the playoffs, they are expecting another child. He said it was nice to have a night to unwind, and that's what he did while he was watching the Lions-Chiefs that we saw on NBC on Thursday. And an issue for the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., another playoff driver.
Yeah, Stenhouse got into the wall a little bit, I believe, in turns 3 and 4. See if that car is able to regroup. It's kind of been struggling back in the back half of the field. Parker, what you got there?
Yeah, Dale, they have been struggling at 47. Came in a lot of optimism, qualifying just outside the top 15. Felt like they had a car that maybe would compete in the top 10, but that has not been the case for Ricky. He's been talking about how he's struggling with the front end of that race car. It's just turning way too well. He's been very loose. They can't seem to get that car to not use the front end as well. And there's, you see him just struggling outside the top 20 now as they seem to fall back in that 47. They've tried a lot of different adjustments on that 47, trying to get that front end to just not react the way it is right now.
Parker, we're going to take another look at what happened to the 47.
So there he is back at the screen. Just everybody runs. You talked about it at the pre-race, Jeff. Everybody runs an inch off the fence. That's where the speed is. You're going to push it a little bit every once in a while. And with an ill-handling car, more often than not, you're going to find yourself getting into the fence a little bit today.
Yeah, the back of the car comes around on you just a little bit. You got to chase it up there. Next thing you know, you're in the wall. William Byron also, he's really tight, complaining about his car right now. Restarted 11th, has fallen back to 17th. He was running well, spun the car, didn't hit anything. But since that incident, this car has not had the speed in it.
Kyle Larson's up front. He's only won here one time, but he has led 5 times at least 85 laps, which he's done again today. Larson up front in Kansas. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock, live from West Lafayette, Indiana. It's the Orange of Syracuse facing the Purdue Boilermakers. It's Big Ten Saturday night. Remember last year's matchup? What a thriller. Syracuse won it on a 7-second to go, 25-yard touchdown pass to win 32-29. College football underway now, and you can watch Big Ten football on NBC. Moments ago, we saw the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. get into the wall. Well, how about again?
Yeah, they've been beating on each other down the front straightaway, him and Briscoe. I think just kind of arguing about how hard each other's getting raced. And then we go down into turn 3 here, and Stenhouse again up the racetrack and makes more contact with the wall. Frustration over how the car's driving, but also frustration about all the cautions out on the racetrack.
And a lot of smoke from the 23 of Bubba Wallace, who was running second.
Right rear tire flat.
Bubba Wallace with the right rear tire carcass about to come off.
Looks like a right rear. Who's a lap? Do I need to just do rights?
That was great. That radio was Booty Barker asking the spotter, wanted to know if he could just change rights. He doesn't want to lose a lap, Parker.
Just before this happened, Bubba Wallace came on the radio and complained about how loose he was suddenly getting in that race car.
So the
team assessing this.
Oh, sorry, Parker. But so, Parker, don't you think that like the right rear starts to lose air? That's probably the loose he was feeling. Is that what you're thinking, going down slowly?
It had to be something like that because he suddenly came on and said he was wrecking loose, and then it was about a lap or two later that he saw this issue. So that maybe gives him an indication there was a tire issue, Steve.
Oh, it looks like more issue.
That's the international sign for something bent or broke. You see the two hands together from the tire changer, and I think at this point, you know, you have to decide how are you going to approach this, right? You put the right, toe link. You just saw the tire carrier push the tire, turning it. Remember, the rears don't turn, so he's turning the right rear tire. Tells me the toe link is bent or broken.
Toe link's broke?
Yes. So
are you answering him? Yes?
I was answering him.
I like that, Rick. I like that.
I was looking at him turn the wheel.
So there's the car getting loose into the wall right there. Pretty hard contact. Riding on board. Oh, it blows out. You can hear the tire explode. Oh, man.
That's just unfortunate for Bubba Wallace. 7th playoff driver already in this race that's had an issue. This racetrack, it just does it. It just eats playoff drivers up.
It's kind of like the first round. Last week, a lot of problems with the playoff drivers. That first round, it's like everybody's preparing all year for the playoffs, and then when they get here, everything goes wrong. This will be a tough situation to rebound from.
Well, let's take a look at our Toyota virtual car to talk about exactly what Bubba Wallace is trying to repair. Right there, you see it highlighted in yellow. That is the toe link that holds the right rear tire straight. And what happens is with contact, that link gets bent. So right now what the team is doing is taking the bolt out on either side, taking that out. That right there is what happens. You see the right rear point in and out. That's what the tire carrier was doing. So now they're going to replace that with a solid piece. Now this looks pretty easy on the animation, but the big issue is those bolts can bend as well. So we'll see how successful the 23 car is at changing this toe link. This is something they practice, Rick. You saw them instantly know what they're trying to do. Booty Barker on top of the pit box did such a good job of keeping Bubba in those races to make the playoffs. Now he has to manage this mechanical repair.
And Steve, he brought the caution out, so they're on the DVP, which means they have X amount of minutes.
Yeah, so they have basically 7 minutes to repair this on pit road, but now all the leaders on pit road, Kim.
Including Ross Chastain, top left. He said, I need more rear grip. I can deal with the tightness that the car is giving me. They will put 4 fresh Goodyear tires on that, make a chassis adjustment. Tyler Reddick saying, if this is going to go to the stage end, I need to be between half and a number tighter air pressure adjustment on those Goodyears. Parker?
At the bottom left of your screen for Denny Hamlin. He was marching into the top 5 there as that caution came out. The team said he's the best in turns 1 and 2. 4 Goodyear tires for him, Dave.
And Kyle Larson was asked, do you need anything? He said, no, I'm good. I'll say 94 laps led now out of 110. See the race off the pit road. Who wins, who loses spots?
Better pit stop for the 20 that time. Lost a spot. Larson and Elliott holding their positions. Brad Keselowski and his crew gaining 3 spots. Another playoff driver with an issue. This time it's Bubba Wallace while he was running second. Make sure to join Xfinity Series playoff driver Parker Kligerman, who also moonlights as our broadcaster. He will be on NBC Sports on Sirius XM this Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., joining the morning drive on NASCAR Radio Channel 90. That'll be great insight as to what takes place this weekend here at Kansas, and looking forward to Bristol.
Parker could tell us the truth now about how nervous he was.
That's right. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, presented by Applebee's. So many issues already for playoff drivers, and it started with Martin Truex Jr.
Right rear tire goes down into the wall. Heavy right front damage. 19 done for the day.
And Will Byron having a good day, good speed, trying to find a little bit more. Overstepped his bounds. Spins out, no contact though.
Issues on pit road. 24 car. Little fire right there. Everybody's okay. And the 20 car had a little problem here about tightening the right rear lug. Lost several spots on pit road. The 12 car as well. An issue on the left front. Worried about making sure that thing's tight. They are doing the smart thing here. It's going to cost them some spots on pit road.
And unfortunately, last year's winner, playoff driver this year, Bubba Wallace, running great, having good speed. Flat right rear tire. Creates wall contact, and they had to change a toe link, but this isn't anything new, Rick.
No, not new at all. As a matter of fact, 2016 is the only year where less than half of the playoff drivers have been involved in issues. So it has definitely been a tough racetrack for playoff drivers through the years.
Junior, that brings me back. That's like Papyrus Racing days right there.
Yeah,
like that's
love it.
Some old school stuff. I like it.
Getting ready for the restart. There will be 52 laps still to go in stage 2. Chase Elliott on the inside and Kyle Larson on the outside.
Larson choosing the outside line here.
Whoa, a
lot of contact, yes. Bottled up back there when they were 4 wide. And close side drafting there for Chase Elliott as he tries to take the lead away from Kyle Larson, but the momentum building on that outside line again.
Larson's made that inside work several times today on restarts, but now 3 wide going down into turn 1. Reddick to the inside.
What a run by the 45 of Tyler Reddick. He surges to the lead here at Kansas.
Tyler slides up in front of Larson, though, to block him, and that gives.
Got a spin in the back. The 2 of Cindric is around.
Austin Cindric sliding on the apron, and the caution comes out.
Caution. Get it back going. Nothing else coming.
So just when things were getting interesting up front, the caution comes out. We'll have another restart.
You know, business is picking up. The 2 is running 18.
So the caution comes out for this spin right here. Looks like he's going to have some help from Michael McDowell in that 34. Sideways goes the 2. Reddick, Elliott, and Larson. All 3 were fighting for the lead. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Applebee's. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Kansas fans having fun. They're there in turn 2. They've seen some interesting things. As a matter of fact, they saw where Michael McDowell got into the back of the 2 of Austin Cindric. Wonder where that started.
Yeah, restarts are crazy here. So watch as this thing moves forward. Michael McDowell up the racetrack a little bit. Then watch the 2 of Cindric. He moves up and gets into the side of McDowell. And now McDowell, I'm sure, is a little bit angry and goes and chases the 2 car down, and around the 2 goes.
Well, that's not nice.
No, that's just the aggression of this racetrack. There's so many places you can go. McDowell racing for the playoffs. He's got some damage from all that on the right front. I'm a little surprised they didn't pit and pay a little bit of attention to it.
Yeah, the contact on the right front was with the 8 car of Kyle Busch, who's back in 17th place. So all those cars right there affected. His 23 car still on pit road making adjustments.
Yeah, they did a nice job of getting the toe link swapped, and they got out on the racetrack before the DVP expired. And now he was the free pass So now he's gone from 3 to 2 laps down. And why that really helps is there's no one a lap down. So if this thing runs 48 laps green, I mean, you currently see he's minus 17, but that's running 34th. I think Wallace has a lot of opportunity to get back in this race. What he really needs is another quick yellow. He also doesn't need to lose a lap. So as he sits here, we're going to show the pace car because it's on the front stretch, and it's going to be basically a drag race to the line. There's a line on the wall that opens and closes pit lane, and I believe their 23 is going to lose another lap right here as the pace car goes by. Now, look, they want to get a lap back, Rick, but Moody knows if the repairs are solid enough to make the next 47 laps, they have to be able to finish the stage as well.
Parker, what about the 34 of McDowell?
Well, the answer,
on the radio?
Yeah, well, to answer Jeff's question as to why they did not pit there, the team was evaluating photos. As many people know, teams have photographers around the racetrack that are sending those photos directly to their pit box, being uploaded in real time. They were taking a look at those photos. They evaluated the damage and assessed it for the photos to think that they didn't have to pit. So that's why they did not come down pit road, Kim.
Well, Parker, Kevin Harvick started in the 20th position, and when I talked to crew chief Rodney Childers this morning, he said yesterday in practice and qualifying, there was some head scratching. He said they looked at Kevin's throttle times, his steering in points, his braking. They were all similar to the fastest cars, as you're seeing the Hunt Brothers Pizza on board. So I checked in with the team because they're running 6. Did they do anything to the car? They said, no, Kevin is just doing Harvick things out there today. Dave?
Christopher Bell will start on the outside of row 5. Rick, it doesn't appear that that repit hurt him. He's still in the top 10.
Well, and now at this point, they've got some different tires on it, so I think we're good there. And unfortunately, as the pace car is going to turn left to come down pit road, the 23 of Bubba Wallace still on pit lane. So what I thought was looking up because they got a lap back, now I have some concerns. The repairs are more than we once expected.
So, again, Bubba Wallace on pit road as they go back up through the gears and back underway with 46 laps to go in stage 2. And Steve, they made minimum speed, correct? So they're not on the DVP. There's no time clock that they're fighting now.
No time clock. Now just this chaos right here they're trying to get back into.
See Kevin Harvick on the bottom with a big push from the 11 down the back straight. Big move by Reddick on the bottom.
It's Elliott, Larson, and Reddick. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Harvick has thrown himself back into the mix in that 4th spot. Three wide back here. Denny Hamlin trying to find a way around as the 23 comes off of pit road now.
Blaney all the way down on the inside here, trying to get around Harvick. Not going to be able to clear. Denny's almost trying to push Harvick back past the 12 car.
Close there between Blaney and Harvick.
Harvick, man, he is fighting for every foot. Sitting really good right here in this stage. Gained a couple of stage points or a stage point in stage 1, sitting there with a great 6th place run right now in stage 2. There's a couple of playoff drivers battling back here in the middle of the pack. The 8, Kyle Busch, trying to drive through this pack around the 24 that you mentioned, Jeff. This 24 just struggling ever since the spin on the back straightaway. Byron had great speed when he unloaded. Good speed early in this race, but they've lost something in that race car since that car went around backwards on the back.
Eric Almirola in the 10 fighting back on the inside of Kyle Busch, not wanting to give that spot up as things heating up between Larson and Keselowski on the top of your screen.
Yeah, who saw this coming? The 6 car up in the top 3. It's a great run around the top of the racetrack for the 5. He's now closed the gap on the 9 of Elliott down the back straightaway. He goes to the bottom trying to find clean air in 3 and 4.
As these guys are down the racetrack a little bit, Brad Keselowski up there by the wall. Crew Chief Matt McCall this morning said everything was good. They drove good. Brad was happy with the car. They just didn't have the speed that they wanted in practice, but during the race, they certainly seemed to have reasonable speed at the very least.
Yeah, they didn't really look that great in stage 1. I mean, kind of around 6th or 7th place. not moving forward, but he's got track position now. See if he can hang on to it. Reddick trying to battle up there and take it away from him. A couple cars in the wall toward the back of the field. The 14 of Briscoe and the 7 as well.
Yeah, I think it started right here. He's got a problem.
14 couldn't get down as far as to pit road as he went by, and very slow on the racetrack.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, he said it shut
All right,
off.
work all your switches here. Work all your.
Weird.
Some sort of electrical issue or an ECU issue.
The car link still separating the top two as Briscoe. He's just gliding on pit road, or excuse me, on the apron. And right now the leaders are going to go by him.
Yeah, if he doesn't get it fired back up, it'll be a caution. He's barely rolling on the back straightaway.
Yes, everything's out. He has a 10-4. Just keep resetting everything that you can.
So here we are on the back straightaway. The car's already lost power, and the 7's going to come up here running the top of the racetrack with nowhere to go. Luckily, not any hard contact. Everyone else is able to avoid.
Not any hard contact, but you would have hoped that the spotter on the 7,
Yellow
and there's
is
the
out
yellow.
here.
Right there, like, I mean, I know it's hard to spot, but you got to kind of be letting your guy know we got a car slow going down the backstretch or slow run on the top.
Yeah, for sure. But you don't know whether he's going to try to get to pit road or what. That top groove is the preferred line around the racetrack. Every driver's going to be heading into turn 3 against the fence if they can. But now he's got the car fired up again.
It's refired. We heard it running down on the apron when he went by in turn 3.
It's so fascinating, you know. You kept hearing him coaching about switches and stuff, so the battery's obviously not dead. The thing wouldn't have cranked back up. So you have to ask yourself, you know, all of these engines now have some of these protection modes. Well, if that fails, just like your street car at home, you know, you take your car, it's not running right. It's, oh, it was a sensor. Change the sensor. Car's fine now. And you like lose your mind because it's this sensor. Well, these race cars now have way more electronics involved, and there are sensors, and there are things that will protect them from themselves, right? There are low oil pressure sensors, things that make the cars not fail or blow up or have mechanical issues. So that's what makes this more complicated. The driver goes through the electronic dash and reads all these codes and all these things, but it's very hard to diagnose.
So the 6th caution has now come out, and that means we'll have another restart with under 36 laps to go. Dave.
Rick, it was an interesting run for Kyle Larson. He spent the time behind his teammate Chase Elliott, chasing him, and then when the caution came out, he said this.
Yeah, we're a lot better than everybody.
Everybody, including his teammate who he's been chasing. I think the 5 has it going on today. If they can just keep it there for Larson, he's really got a car he loves.
Well, with 11 laps in these tires, the driver's going to want tires, but we only had 8 sets. They put 4 sets on. There's 139 laps to go in the race. So this is going to be a split decision, not because they don't want to put them on, but they're going to be afraid to run out. So there you go. Leaders stay out. Brad comes to pit road. First intersection and pit strategy, Kim.
And for Tyler Reddick, Billy Scott telling them we are putting scuffs on this car. We don't want to use up a set of stickers. Tyler Reddick's response, no problem, I've got this. Parker.
The 22 team with Joe Logano was committed when this caution came out to getting on pit road here. It looks like a little bit of a slow stop on the right rear there. So there's a little bit of slow stop, not going to work to the strategy they wanted here, Dave, to get some track position.
Keselowski asked for the scuffs as well. They think that's going to be the way to go with the Goodyear tires they have remaining here. The last adjustment they made for Brad's car made it a lot better.
All right, a lot of scuffed tires. Basically, they had, I said they had 8 sets, 7 sets of stickers in their qualifiers. So how do they have scuffed tires? Probably the tires they qualified on yesterday.
So some are putting those scuffed tires on, but some different strategies taking place now. We'll see if Elliott and Larson could stay out front. You're watching the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, presented by Applebee's. Already, Martin Truex Jr. out of the race early. Right rear tire goes out for him. This is just the second race of the playoffs. And Bubba Wallace also has been on pit road for numerous laps. He's currently scored 5 laps down. It's been a dominant performance up to this point by Kyle Larson. He's led 98 laps. Chase Elliott has been up front for 16. And they're getting ready to choose which line they want to restart in as we get ready for the restart. Larson's going to be on the high side. Chase Elliott down on that lower line. Blaney, Chastain, Bell, Buescher, Busch, Bowman, Cindric, and Keselowski all part of the top 10. 7 playoff drivers already today have had issues, and this is just the second race of the playoffs. Parker?
Right, and one to clean up on my end. Here's the 34 of Michael McDowell, where I said they didn't think they had the damage to come and pit on that last caution. The team did assess that they had damaged that right front splitter area, which caused Michael to be very tight in that race car, so they elected to come down pit road and fix that damage under this caution the best of their ability. They didn't think they had time under that last caution. Also, another playoff driver that's struggling that came down pit road multiple times in this caution, the 47 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He said on the radio he felt like they brought a different car than yesterday. They've made numerous setup changes to that 47, trying to get it to handle better for him as he's now at the back of the pack, guys.
Well, and you see the points that they run with that issue, the 47, or trying to make it drive better. Currently 24 below. McDowell 37 below, 14 for Wallace. Logano 6 below. And here we have a split decision. Brand new tires in 10th. The 6 of Keselowski, 4 of Harvick, 45 of Reddick. Those are the cars you want to focus on with the new tires. Can they make progress on the restart?
It'll be 33 laps remaining in stage 2. Top 8 cars did not come to pit road. We'll see if those fresh tires, and we see them peeking out already, will they make a difference?
Yeah, Reddick's putting Keselowski 4 wide. But look at Brad right through the middle.
Oh, they're checking up big time in front of him. He's going to get a ton of spots. Larson had a big problem off of 2.
Still not sorted out. We're 4 wide, getting down into turn 3.
Brad Keselowski already getting by Larson, who started on the front row. Now Larson with the momentum. He's gained it back, and they stay side by side. Harvick just in front of him.
Yeah, Harvick's all the way up to 4th place here.
Harvick making the most of those pressure tires, and he has made his way into the top 5.
Big loser in all that is Chastain, all the way back to 20th, getting shuffled back. And all that going on the exit of turn 2. And the 5 is continuing to drop back.
Yeah, he's fallen back to 11th already, and now down to 12th.
That's wild what's happened to this 5 car in a couple of laps here. Let's take a look and see off of turn 2 here. Jeff, as they were going down into turn 1, he's on the outside. He gets put 3 wide.
Just gets really loose. Back of the car, just came around, had to check up.
And we'll see if the free fall has stopped for Larson as he's down to 12th. Logano and Busch both in front of him.
Big run from the 43 here off the top of the racetrack.
Eric Jones trying to make that pass. We see race leader Chase Elliott with Blaney and Harvick behind him. Harvick already up to 3rd, Blaney to 2nd.
Well, and Kevin Harvick on the new tires, you see how much more grip it has. I think he's going to have the huge advantage. This wasn't about were new tires what you needed. Everybody knew that tires were going to be a huge advantage. This is about how many tires you have left. The teams that pitted now only have 3 sets remaining for the rest of the race. The cars that stayed out, like Blaney and the 9, have 4 sets. How many yellows will we see in that final stage?
And look at Harvick doing all this work on the bottom of the racetrack. I mean, we've seen everybody find most of their speed at the top, but this 4 car, and that's Harvick's MO. Even when we go to racetracks where you run the wall, he just doesn't love to run up there. he'll set his car up to run a car length off the wall. And for here at Kansas, right around the bottom of the racetrack, only car really out there able to find real speed working both ends of the racetrack on the bottom. The 6th of Brad Keselowski cruising into this battle as well.
Another big loser in this exchange. He didn't put tires on Chastain all the way back to 26th. How about Kevin Harvick, if he could jump up here and win this stage, how big that would be.
We still have to look at the numbers, though, and Steve brought it up earlier. They were only 8 sets of tires laying when they started this race. We just passed the halfway point, and they've used 5 sets already. So they have to go the second half of this race with only 3 sets of tires left.
Well, it's been caution filled. You know, if we see green flag racing, it won't be a huge penalty, but that's the gamble that they're taking.
27 laps to go in this stage, and 2 cars that we thought would need to overachieve are sitting there in second and third. This 4-car, Harvick and Keselowski. Keselowski just a little bit quicker right here. Looking at the Sunny D Ford of Harvick down into turn 3. Brad's gonna have the momentum on the top. That 4-car works really good down on the bottom of the racetrack, able to maintain Denny around the 17 of Buscher. Those 2 battling for 6th place. Top of the screen, the battle for the lead.
Yeah, Elliott's pulled away from Harvick. Has about 8 car lengths between the 2 now, as the 6 closing in.
Now Brad to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 3 and 4. Not as high line dominant as 1 and 2. Can they get up here and possibly one of them race for the stage win? That'd be incredible today. I don't think either one of them thought they'd win a stage today, but here they are.
Keselowski has fallen behind the 4 just a bit, and the 4 has closed the gap now to under 4 car lengths. Looking to the inside of Elliott.
Elliott fades off the top of the track, comes down the racetrack a little bit for that exit. Trying to break the draft a little bit down here on the apron.
Kevin's perfectly happy running this part of the racetrack. He loves running the bottom. It's going to be a hard pass, though. Chase Elliott will build so much momentum down the straights.
Once again, Harvick to the bottom of the racetrack. Drifts right back up quickly, though. Again, fresher tires for Harvick and Keselowski. They came to pit road on lap 129.
So we saw the new tires blast off really fast with tons of grip. Both these cars made up a lot of ground, but now that they've gotten here, they seem to have equed out a little bit. The advantage of the new tire appears to be on the long run. It's on the short run.
13 on your tires here.
Talking about the number of laps on their tires. Elliott doing all he can and doing it all correctly to stay out in front. He's led 29 laps here in Kansas today. In a season that's been difficult for Chase Elliott, missing 7 races throughout the season and the playoffs, but now he's out front at Kansas. It's NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, the Hollywood Casino 400, as we see Brad Keselowski take second away from Kevin Harvick. And now it's Chase Elliott who's out front. Let's go through the field, brought to you by eBay. We'll start with Parker and Chase Elliott.
Well, Rick, I spent some time with the crew chief of the 9-car, Alan Gustafson, this morning, and I sensed something in their hauler I had not sensed, well, at least for the last few months. That was confidence. He was confident in the things they'd found this race team in the last couple of weeks, and he said, you know, it's a lot of the things I thought were going to come online, say, 6-8 weeks ago. We just didn't do that. We didn't get Chase into the playoffs, but he said, I'm starting to see it now. What a better way to display that than be up front leading, Dave.
Keselowski running second now. I asked crew chief Matt McCall what it was like working with the boss this year, and he said, you know what? He's got so much going on now that he's part owner of Roush Fenway Keselowski that he's very, very structured and very focused. That's been great, and I think it's been good for Brad. Kim?
Kevin Harvick running in the third position. When I checked in with the team this morning, they were talking about how they still don't have the outright speed they want at intermediate. In terms of speed, they said it feels like bringing a knife to a gunfight. But despite that, Kevin Harvick has found a way to the front of the field. Right now, just saying way too loose on that Ford, Parker.
And Kim, the fastest car on the racetrack is right behind him. That's the 11 of Denny Hamlin, who maybe had foreseen this just a bit ago. Take a listen to his radio under a couple cautions ago.
Don't think these fellows up front know what's coming. There's my guy. I'm with you. I'm ready to suit up with him for sure.
You gotta love a confident driver and a confident driver that can back it up as Denny's going to the front, Kim.
Tyler Reddick running in the fifth position. We know how good he is running the wall, so he took a different approach in practice. He ran all the lines he knew would be fast without running the wall because he wanted to have options, because even though he likes it up there, he said it's very risky. And he said, I know what I'm good at. Why not try something else? They have told him be cautious using wide open throttle in the middle of the corner after what the 23 had, Parker.
And how about this run for Eric Jones and Legacy Motor Club right now in the 6th position? When we came to the garage this morning around 11, this team was inspecting the rear of that race car. They did not get that race car out to the grid till very late as they had to change the rear transaxle. Normally as pit reporters, we get to speak to the crew chief of these teams through that time. I never got to speak to Dave Ellens because he was so involved in getting that transaxle changed. What a great comeback for Eric Jones' 43 team up in the top 10, Kim.
Ryan Blaney running in the 7th position. They did not come down to get tires during that last caution, so just maintaining on old Goodyears. When I talked to the team this morning, they said 1.5 miles still have been their weak spot. They're not where they want to be speed-wise. So I asked them what they need to do today to feel comfortable going into Bristol, and they said they need another top 10. They got a top 10 last week in Darlington. Right now looking good for Ryan Blaney, Parker.
Right, and as they run his teammate Joe Logano, defending champion of the NASCAR Cup Series, would be 9 points to the good going to Bristol, which would not make this team feel entirely safe in many respects. They said if they need to go to Bristol and go have a great run, maybe possibly win, they feel that's a place confident they can do it. But this run today has been typical of what Paul Wolf said they've seen throughout this year. They've been about 13th to 15th place on speed, have used strategy to get in the top 10 and hold on that track position, running 8th right now, Dave.
Chris Buescher was asked after practice if he felt good about his race car. He said, yeah, I think the balance is good. And when he was asked for detail, he said, well, I'm not swatting flies, which meant he wasn't using a lot of wheel back and forth, back and forth. It's been pretty smooth for him today, running in the top 10, 9th currently. And so is Christopher Bell in the top 10 after being on the pole and leading 9 laps. Remember, bad pit stop for them, or actually a repit for them, put them back, but they believe they still have the speed, and you see Christopher very happy with running that very high line. What happened to the 5 car of Kyle Larson? We saw him get loose off of turn 2 after restarting on the outside of the front row. The team talked about it.
I know we screwed you. It's my fault. It was a bad call. Keep your tires on you, and we'll figure out a way to make it up to you for the rest of the race. Well, goes back beat you at the top a long time ago, so certainly. It's all good. We're all going to dig down deep, and we're going to do everything we can to claw our way back up there.
Cliff Daniels, the crew chief, being apologetic and also encouraging, but the driver saying, you know what, that's on me too for choosing that high line. They'll try to find their way back. Remember, they think that car can be the best today. It has been a lot of the day.
Just really surprised by the difference in tires. I know we do have a couple cars, one actually leading the race, that did not take tires. A lot of cars, though, that struggled. When you get in that dirty air, if you have a little moment and it's going to lose you some positions, Steve, and you get back in dirty air and around cars and new tires, they see blood in the water.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, right? I mean, look, Chase Elliott is leading the race on the same strategy as the 5, and I think that's what Larson was saying. You look at tire sets remaining, those drivers with 4 have an advantage if we see all those in this final stage. But once you get, you know, a tire deficit and lose track position, man, they take advantage. But I'm not sure if Elliott, while he is leading, we're going to see if those old tires can hold off Brad Keselowski to win the stage.
Keselowski has closed the gap now. He's within a half a second. And the 9 of Chase Elliott's going to have to go by the 2 of Cindric. And it slows Keselowski down as well as he went up the racetrack and was behind the 2 for just a moment.
Brad actually gets a little momentum down the back straightaway running that higher line, Steve. He went in there and ran up behind that 2 on purpose to create that momentum. He draws almost right to the back bumper here in turn 3 and 4. The 9's taking the defensive line. Right behind them, here comes the 11 car as well. Denny Hamlin, he wants to get in the middle of this battle. He's faster than both of these cars in that purple number 11 right there.
Brad's strength is on corner exit. He kind of breaks even with Chase, but then on corner exit, he's able to go to the throttle a little bit sooner. You can see he gets that run.
Can he do it on the bottom of the racetrack, though, Jeff? Down here in turn 3 and 4, the 6 goes low. He can disrupt the air just a little bit right here and cause the 9 to have to get out of the gas just a little bit on corner exit.
Now he's got him where he wants him. Now he's got to can side draft him. What can he do on corner entry, though? Can he drive deep enough in the corner to clear him?
Under 3 laps to go in stage 2, and Keselowski leading at Kansas.
Use a lot of racetrack up on the exit of 2, kind of a little bit of a slide job that's giving Chase some forward momentum.
He's gonna dive here. You're good. Protect your top here. Clear, 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 clear.
Chase back on the bottom, just doesn't have the tire life, the speed to be able to bring the fight back to the 6, and now the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Can he get around Chase Elliott quick enough? Only 2 laps to go. And they got a little lap traffic right here. They got to get by this car. Dylan, he's going to get stuck right on the inside of this 3 on corner exit.
For Keselowski and Hamlin, there's a playoff point. At the end of this stage, if they win, they can carry that playoff point through the stages that they, or rounds that they continue to advance through. Keselowski now pulling away. Under 2 laps to go. He pulls away from the 9, but is the 11 going to be fast enough to clear the 9?
Chase goes to the middle of the racetrack. Then he's going to fill that hole in the top.
Big speed here by the 11 down the back straightaway. He'll clear easily into second place.
So now what does he do? The final turn of stage 2 down to the bottom of the racetrack. Hamlin 2 car lengths away. Not enough momentum for Hamlin as Keselowski is going to win stage 2 at Kansas. Hamlin, Elliott, Harvick, and Reddick top 5. Jones, Blaney, Logano, Buescher, and Bell the top 10. A great final 30 laps for Keselowski puts him in the winner's circle for stage 2. next week, Saturday night at the last great Coliseum. Bristol Motor Speedway Cup Series playoffs continue, and it's an elimination race right there on the short track. That race coverage on USA at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And we look at the whole weekend. Friday, it's countdown to green at 7 o'clock for the Xfinity Series race. And by the way, there will be an Earnhardt back in the field there, the one that's actually sitting next to me now. Dale Jr., you're going to be competitive over there. What do you think you're going to do in that race?
Man, that would be nice if I'm competitive. Every time I race in the Xfinity Series, you're reminded of how tough it is, and the guys that do it every week, they're good. They're good little drivers. So I'm looking forward to it, though, Jeff.
Look at the bright side. You picked a really easy race.
I know, right? I do not know what I was thinking about that, but I love Bristol. I miss it so bad. I want to have another go at it. So we're going to go have some fun. Hopefully we'll qualify into the show. I know it won't be automatic, but hopefully we'll qualify into the show and have some fun.
Listen, if we try to talk to you during yellow and you don't talk, we're going to take offense to that.
Yeah.
So.
Kim.
Big stage for Kevin Harvick, earning some points there as he came into this race below the elimination line. That was one of their goals for today's race. Kevin just saying way too loose. Rodney said, okay, we'll make a half a round adjustment in the right rear. You see that happen right there. 4 tires to no go fuel, Parker.
On the top right side of your screen, Denny Hamlin there came on the radio and said, I was just barely tight and need a little help turning in 3 and 4 there as he came short of winning that stage. The bottom left of your screen, Chase Elliott, who's led 47 laps, said he was very happy with that race car. It just got a little too loose late in the run, Dave.
Stage winner Brad Keselowski was asked if he wanted more security. Short run, no. Long run, yes. They picked up 3 spots earlier. Does he hold this time? He will.
And it was close. Keselowski does hold his position coming off of pit road. Hamlin was right there, coming with a little momentum. Half a car length separates the top 2 off pit road. We'll have a restart when we come back. Well, Super Motocross World Championship playoffs were yesterday, at least the first playoff was. Big news in the 450 class. Jet Lawrence's undefeated streak, it ended. He finished 7th and 2nd in the 2 heat races and sits 4th overall. And it was Chase Sexton who had a huge day, winning both heats and is atop the standings heading into next weekend. And of course, next weekend it will be Chicagoland Speedway. That's Saturday on Peacock, right there in Joliet, Illinois. And the championship finale, September 23rd on USA from the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, playoff 2 at Chicagoland. The other big thing is the points double. So, when you talk about Chase Sexton currently leading with 25 points, Ken Roczen is second with 22 points, 3 points behind. Well, it's going to go to 2 points of position. So instantly these gaps can be closed down. And as the vice gets turned up, we saw it in NASCAR. When the playoffs entered NASCAR, the competitors were put in new positions, and now we're seeing the same thing with the riders over in the motocross world.
And problems for the one of Ross Chastain. Crew member over the wall too soon.
Yeah, so if you stay right here, you're going to see you are allowed to have This guy's okay and this guy's okay, but this man right here cannot be in the pit stall before this line. So that right there is over the wall too soon. They allow the guy carrying 2 tires, the gas man, to get a little bit of a head start, but the tire changer must wait till 1 pit stall away. So therefore, over the wall too soon. That is from the camera system. It's called the Pro system that NASCAR uses, all digitally recorded and actually digitally officiated. And in the end, Kim, and now the 1 car is going to go to the back. It'll be a tail end penalty.
And as we talk pit stops, William Byron's team spent extra time on pit road. In fact, they'll restart 27th. I looked to see if there was a problem on the stop. No, they just need to make major adjustments, specifically on the front end, way too tight, and then it trends to the loose side after that, Parker.
And Kim, for Denny Hamlin, who won here in the spring, I think he has a car capable of sweeping the races here at Kansas this year, showing one of the fastest cars on the long run. So that's what he wants. He wants a long run. What does he not want? Cautions. He only has 2 sets of tires in the pits here, Dave.
Parker, Truck Series Championship hopeful Carson Hocevar is having another good run here. Finished 17th at Darlington last week and only his 2nd start, and is earning a good again here. He'll start on the outside this time. Ricky thinks maybe Bristol for now is his only race on the schedule, but stay tuned. He might be in the 42 more later this season.
Yeah, he's looking impressive. I think warming up the tires or cleaning the tires, the 6 and the 11, I think made some contact before we get this restart. We'll have to take another look back at that. Final stage underway from Kansas.
Brad got a great jump there, and he's going to get away from the 11, so the side draft can't happen. Then he draws right back up on his quarter panel here through the outside of turn 2. Good momentum for that 11 off of turn 2, side by side down the back straightaway. They've broken away by a couple car lengths on the 2nd row.
And you heard the confidence that Denny Hamlin has in his race car. He drove that thing into the corner. Keselowski tried to outdrive him. Denny wasn't having anything to do with it.
Don't look now, but here comes Eric Jones in the 43 as well.
They had such a huge run on those 2 cars leading, running side by side. Look at Reddick around the outside, almost into the wall right there.
Reddick and Eric Jones now fighting for the 3rd spot as they've fallen back, but they had huge momentum. Keselowski out front, Hamlin running 2nd. Jones and Reddick still trying to decide who's 3rd. So it's Keselowski that's out in front of Hamlin. Reddick, Jones, and Harvick. Again, before the green flag came out, take a look at this. Keselowski and Hamlin.
Yeah, a little bit of a contact right there, just warming the tires up. We got some cars having some trouble up in the turn 3 wall, the 21.
Harrison Burton is slow. The caution has come out. It's the 8th of the day for cautions.
See you guys, toe links for
They had
sure.
an issue.
Hit right front hard as well.
Harrison had an issue off of turn 2, I believe with the 16 car. I'm not quite sure who it was, but Harrison and another car got in the fence up in the wall in turn 2. Harrison carried that damage, that flat tire on the right front down into turn 3. Toe link on the right rear broken and bent as well.
Go to work on the 21.
Yeah, right front's not wanting to come off.
Toe link and right front.
So the toe link is repairable on pit road. It takes a little bit of time. That's what we saw at Bubba Wallace. But there are rules about changing any other parts. We'll have to see if there's more damage. Let's take a look.
Riding on board with Justin Haley here. The 42, Hocevar up the racetrack. He's going to squeeze the 21 into the wall. That contact right there knocked the right front tire down, bent the toe link.
Into the wall goes Harrison Burton. The caution comes out, which means another restart. Under 100 laps remaining here in Kansas in race 2 of the playoffs. 91 laps to go. You're watching NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Kansas, presented by Applebee's. 9 drivers already, 9 playoff drivers have been involved in incidents or have had problems today from Kansas, which is something normal. Let's look at the keys to victory lane, brought to you by Ruoff Mortgage.
Well, with the 91 laps to go, some cars have 2, some cars have 3 sets left. If it goes green, no problem. If we get a bunch of yellows, it's going to be a challenge for the cars with only 2 sets.
Yeah, restarts. We've seen how aggressive they are. You've got to go pick up spots. You have to be aggressive to make the moves, but don't be too aggressive to take yourself out of this race.
You also got to be aggressive on pit road. You can't speed, though, and also your pit crew needs to make sure they don't have any mistakes to be able to slow down them pit stops. It costs you a lot of track position, keep you toward the front of the field.
Just moments ago, we saw the 34, the 5, and the 24 all on pit road. Kim, what was 24 doing?
Well, that car has just been ill since he spun out earlier. The handling not right, so they elected to bring him down, make more adjustments on the car. They did put scuffs on the 24 car of William Byron to save a set of sticker tires. So the William Byron machine just not the same after that spin, Dave.
5 of Larson was on pit road. Here was the conversation.
Man, I swear, I think even with 2 laps on everyone's tires, if you had fresh tires right now, you could go drive by them all. Tempting. I may pit.
Okay, it's up to you.
And then he asked, how many on the lead lap? And Cliff said 31. But they pitted. Cliff is confident he can drive by them all.
Gotta love confidence.
Well, I mean, I don't think this is a bad decision, because the other issue is the tires that they just took off only have 3 laps on them. So once they cool off, you put them back on, they'll fire off just fine. Maybe not quite as good as stickers, but they're still going to fire off like new tires. We saw earlier, like when Harvick and those guys had fresh tires, and Jeff pointed it out, they kind of leveled off after 4 or 5, 6 laps, but the first couple laps he had a huge advantage. We'll see if the 5's able to do the same sort of thing. He pitted from 15th. He's currently 26th, so he's going to need a good restart.
So Larson's got confidence, and Parker, I'm guessing that the driver of the 11, he's pretty confident as well?
Oh, of course he is. You got to know Denny to know that. But of course, Denny Hamlin and Chris Gabehart are some of the most analytical duos on pit road. Take a listen to their radio just a moments ago.
That stuff you're working on in 3 and 4 there, kind of bottom, grinding the front tires, that kind of thing. With that kind of thing being more towards the front here, you might use that as a tool to make sure you don't migrate free if the air stays clean. Yep, gotcha.
I just love that because it's such great information. It's something that obviously the 11 car has not experienced a ton of. I've only led 1 lap today, but that is all the race cars that get to the lead seem to migrate very free. As they have that clean air, they start to build the air pressure in the right rear, and those cars are getting very free at the end of the run. Maybe what he's doing down in 3 and 4 can help him solve that and be able to keep the lead once they get it.
Yeah, Parker, Chris Gabehart, the crew chief for Denny Hamlin, they have so much trust in each other, and they worked very hard on what information can Chris look at SMT and see and then apply for information for Denny Hamlin. And that's just a great example of, hey, that's a tool you can use. Run that bottom, heat that right front up, save the right rear tire, and that's a great opportunity for you to be better on a long run. Just such good information.
On the left side, you see the playoff drivers with the yellow line underneath their name, but there's so many drivers inside the top 10. And how about these 2 guys right here, Eric Almirola in 13th, Willie Joy in 14th, both inside the top 15, having a great run today. We got Eric Jones up there in 4th. So teams that didn't make the playoffs trying to finish the year out strong with a good run.
We've mentioned the chaos that has taken place on restarts at Kansas. Well, let's put you on the cars for this one. All the onboards. Gets us back up to speed as we're back underway.
Another great launch for that 6 car, Keselowski. Really been the only car that I've ever seen on restarts to be able to lurch forward and clear the outside line. Whatever they're doing with the transmission, the gears he's using, it's really working well on restarts.
It's also working well for Jones. Can he clear Hamlin?
They're going to run side by side down this front straightaway, but so is the cars behind them. Nobody's going to really have a run. Denny's going to clear on the outside.
Harvick to the bottom of the track again. He's running 4th, trying to hold off Reddick, who's right up against the wall.
Reddick back on the outside down the back straightaway is going to clear into 4th place. Now Reddick goes to the bottom of the track. He's blocked by Jones.
Really impressed with Jones's car to be able to not be completely on the bottom, about a groove up, and still beat Reddick off the corner.
Reddick to the top of the racetrack. So we're watching the 9 car here, Chase Elliott. Reddick's going to get 3rd place from Jones there through turns 1 and 2.
Hamlin's closed the gap. Now he goes to the high side for the lead. Keselowski going to try to hold him off. Hamlin follows him all the way down to the apron. RFK have not been stellar on 1.5-mile tracks this year, but with 4 of them in the playoffs, starting with this one right here in Kansas, Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher knew they had to be better. Keselowski's already been out front for 19 laps, but now in jeopardy is Hamlin, trying to take that top spot away.
I think Denny just a little bit better, but he really can't find the clean air. Brad's doing a good job of basically taking away the top and the bottom by running in that 3rd groove.
Keselowski to the bottom, Hamlin stays up high.
Yeah, pretty interesting right there. Brad Keselowski changing his line up a little bit, making Denny Hamlin guess. These guys had a little action last week.
Suarez Bowman, that fight for 13th. You see Larson back there as well, running in the 15th position.
Yeah, Kyle, I'm sorry, Junior. I was going to say Larson gained 14 spots already since the restart.
Yeah, and he's about to gain a couple more on these guys right here. Looking through the middle of this 3-wide situation. He's going to get on the outside of the 48, have the momentum down the front straightaway to clear that easily.
He's done all of it just like that. Spin right up on the boards, making passes. Got real aggressive on the restart. Now going to the bottom on Suarez.
Look at Denny and them up top. Brad had to defend that low off the exit of turn 2 and slow down the momentum the 11 car had. Denny to the bottom of the racetrack. Is it an opportunity for him to be side by side? He's right to the quarter panel.
Coming up to you.
Side drafting down the front straightaway.
Stay away. He's still going to be there. He's still there. Just be smart here. Inside by himself. Just hit your marks up top there.
Reddick's driving up on these 2 cars as they run side by side, but Denny's going to clear easily for the lead. Here comes Reddick on the inside now.
A little more momentum out of Keselowski as well. Can he fight back?
Reddick's going to slow him down. Rick side drafting him and down into turn 3. Reddick's going to clear.
Here comes Keselowski fighting back on that outside.
Reddick slides up in front of him on the front straightaway. Big run from the 45 now. Got pushed off the nose of the 6.
What does he do with the speed? He goes down, but Hamlin also wasn't going to stay right up against the wall. So now Hamlin in front of Reddick.
Denny Hamlin, the car owner of Tyler Reddick, and they've worked a lot together on driving. They've tried to help each other. Reddick very good on these racetracks up against the boards. Hamlin trying to learn those skills from him, and then Reddick learning skills from Hamlin, like for Martinsville, Richmond, etc. Road courses. Both of them working together. Now here they are battling for the lead. Who taught who the most?
Yeah, Hamlin's putting 3 car lengths on Reddick. We'll see if Reddick can reel him back in. Dave, how about Brad Keselowski now running in that 3rd spot?
Yep, held him off as long as he could, but then radioed the crew after he got past.
That's all I got, man. They're just faster. Yeah, man, we're P3. Last stage of this race, man. Stay focused. We're good.
That's right, Matt McCall knows there may be another restart, and there's certainly another green flag stop before the end of this race.
It's so demoralizing to get passed by those cars, and that's great advice to sort of pick the driver back up. Hey, man, we still got a great shot at a really good result. Big picture here. Brad, as they run, is sitting plus 39 to the cut line. That's incredible for this team, considering what they've been through.
Yeah, they came in, they were only 18 above that cut line. So a big day here at Kansas, but there's still a lot of time in this race. 77 laps to go. Let's look at the progressive telemetry on the 6 car of Brad Keselowski. Brad getting out of the gas, hit the brake very lightly, and then right back into full throttle. It's Denny Hamlin back out front at Kansas. Reddick chasing right behind. The gap is 0.3 of a second separating Hamlin and Reddick. 71 laps to go. Steve, when can we see these guys back on pit road for tires?
Well, if you do a bunch of math, I think that 215 is on the early side, but I think someone's going to come early. 220 is probably a little safer location to split your tires up. But this battle between Hamlin and Reddick is going to be just like what we saw a week ago between Reddick and Harvick at Darlington, and that is Reddick is going to try to come to pit road before the 11, one lap, and try to kind of leapfrog him on pit road, Parker.
And here's the interesting thing, what Reddick's going to need to do to be able to pass that 11 to go on to win this race is to beat Denny using, I guess, the opposite of what Denny did in the spring to beat Kyle Larson. What I mean by that is you watch Denny Hamlin go into turn 1 here. He's going to run a lane that's just a bit lower there. It's right on that top seam. It's not all the way up against the wall. That is by design. That is something he identified when the wall seemed to be the dominant place to run here. He used that sort of that line and went to his crew chief Chris Kaylart and said, I want to set up the race car to do that. That's what they've done. Is you see him run lower. I'd be surprised if he ever gets to the wall. So if Reddick's going to beat him, he's going to have to find a way to go around that 11 and definitely not below him, as the 11 seems to have that line control, guys.
As these two guys continue to lead, the car that has led the most laps today, the 99 of Kyle Larson. Remember, he kind of got cycled back on that restart. Then they pitted with only 3 laps on their tires. Cliff Daniels said, hey, man, I think 3 lap fresher tires, you can make something happen. He restarted outside the top 25, driven up to the 10th position. Now, while he's gaining positions, unfortunately, he's about 7 seconds behind the leader. And now he's working on Buescher.
Yeah, Larson got a lot of them pretty quickly. Then once he got into the top 10, he got behind Ty Gibbs. Took him a long time to get by Ty. Now he's underneath Buescher.
So now with a win in the bank, I was just talking about the pit window. You know, that's a car that could come ridiculously early or run crazy long, right? I mean, he can see what the field does and go to the other side to try to gain an advantage, because either side of that strategy has an opportunity. It really just comes down to where Cliff Daniels and Larson are most comfortable to try to find an advantage.
Austin Cindric in the middle of the top 2. And Reddick able to get by him as well.
Yeah, ever since that spin that Cindric was involved in, his car hasn't had any speed.
I do want to update you. I know it was on the screen earlier, but the 21 of Harrison Burton, the DVP clock expired on the 21, so he's off the track. You see the playoff bubble and the points as they run. Logano only 4 points above the cut line.
He came in here just +3, and so fascinating to me what if this is how this ends for him today, going into Bristol, the champion, sort of battling to stay alive in the playoffs. Tells you how frustrating and challenging this year has been for Logano.
And the big news, of course, the start of this race when Martin Truex Jr. got into the wall after winning the regular season and starting tied with the most playoff points, starting this round of the playoffs up top. He now is out of the race and below the cut line. Want to take a look at the Toyota driver update. Hamlin and Reddick 1 and 2. Bell, Gibbs, and Wallace 8th, 12th, and 33rd. Bubba Wallace also with an issue, is 4 laps down right now. So the playoff drivers that are struggling from Kansas: Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace. McDowell is running 25th, and Stenhouse Jr. in 22nd.
Remember Kyle Busch in that 8 car had trouble in practice. Little right rear tire damaged the car, had to do a lot of work to it, started at the back. He's running 11th.
Jeff, this 5 car, I believe, just made a little wall contact down the...
You're all good. Shake it off and regroup. If you feel something, let me know.
There you go. You're all good. That is in reference to the last time at this end of the racetrack in 1 and 2, the 5, who is definitely winning the award for perhaps the highest, just finally reaches out a little too far and kind of gets sucked into the wall.
Oh, he rides along the wall there quite a ways. That's tough on the sidewall of the tire, but as far as we can tell, we're escaped some serious drama right there for the 5.
Larson running 9th right now, so he's inside the top 10. Hamlin and Reddick still setting the pace. Closing in on green flag pit stops, maybe the final stop here at Kansas as we have just 56 laps remaining. Denny Hamlin has a 1 second lead over Tyler Reddick. Then it's Keselowski, Jones, Elliott's in the top 5, Harvick, Blaney, Larson, Bell, Busch in the top 10. That's right, Larson has made his way up to 8th already, restarting back outside the top 20. Going to dive in a little deeper with some of these drivers, and we'll start with Jeff and Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney running 7th. You know, not a great day, but a very good day. Think about last year. What knocked them out of the playoffs was mistakes by Ryan Blaney. They had good speed last year, not that good of a speed, not that great a speed this year, but he is managing races and doing what he needs to do to try to advance through the playoffs. A good adjustment from last year for Ryan Blaney.
Well, the driver, I think, is just excited to be back behind the wheel of the race car as the 41 of Ryan Preece had one of the most breathtaking accidents we have seen in recent memory as he flipped down the backstretch at Daytona a couple weeks ago. Started last week at Darlington, ran the race. I spoke to him this week in the garage. I said, man, how did you feel when you get back in the car? And he said, you know, surprisingly, I had a little bit of bruising from the seatbelts, but overall felt well. An impressive drive for the 41, and now we see the green flag cycle begin.
Kim.
As Ryan Blaney pulls off to make his stop, he said on the balance it is just built tighter and tighter as the run went on. Air pressure adjustment for Ryan Blaney on those 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Parker.
Also on pit road, there's Eric Jones pitting from the 4th position, saying the car's just a hair tight, but a great run continues for Goodyear tires for him.
So now the question is, how long until the leaders? Brad Keselowski pits from the 4th position. We're going to see if this drives the leaders to pit road. Kim.
And for Kevin Harvick, the balance just is not there. Still needs the front end to turn better, but the back right on edge on exit. He says the nose gets better, doesn't get any better, and the back continues to get worse. They'll look for an adjustment there. 4 tires, Sunoco rule. Kyle Busch says, I lose the front end. It trended freer, but got real tight the last 10 laps. I just need more grip on this car. Dave.
Brad Keselowski on this run, but can he find that speed he was looking for?
And here is Tyler Reddick. The balance was good to fire up. He told them originally it could have been a tick bit freer, but as the run went on, it got looser and looser. Kind of maybe a little bit of a slow stop there for Tyler Reddick, Parker.
As we're starting to see some of the top cars come down here as you're looking at Larson, also his teammate Chase Elliott on pit road out of the top 5 doing 4 tires just a little tight.
See the 5 car in now, Parker. The tire getting away over to the wall, collected, thankfully. Checking the damage, it isn't enough to do anything about. He will be back out with 4 Goodyear tires, Parker.
This has forced the leader of Denny Hamlin down to pit road as all these leaders come down to get 4 Goodyear fresh tires. As you see them go to the right side of the race car, very happy with the balance of that race car. We've talked about how they're trying to make it live to the end of the run and not get too loose. That's been up to Denny to choose the right lanes, and he's away. We'll see how he cycles through here.
Now it's all about the race off pit road. The 11 service complete. On the bottom of your screen, the 45 of Tyler Reddick. Upper right, you see the map. 45 leaving, turn 4, a little traffic behind Bell. Here goes the 11, but the 45 is going to have a ton of speed. How quick can the 11 get up to speed? That's the question. Traffic is killing Reddick. Being behind Bell is not what he wants to see, and what you're going to see is the 11 blend and then the 45 blend. This is really well done by the 11 because he came a lap after. It was a 1.6 second gap. It looks like it's going to remain about the same. Interesting though, remember, Denny Hamlin was very critical about the 45's crew chief last week and how he chose to call the race at Darlington. He had some, I thought, fair words, but an assumption about what he could have done differently. Now this week, the 45 on the front end of the pit cycle, but the veteran Denny Hamlin keeps what will be the lead as the cycle goes through.
Now they're continuing to have green flag pit stops. We haven't seen Christopher Bell on pit road yet, or Suarez. They're running 1 and 2. William Byron came on lap 176 and McDowell also on 176. So right now the top 6 have not made their way to pit road yet.
About a half a second faster pit stop for the 11 team versus the 45. Half a second at those speeds is a lot of track position.
Yeah, the 11, he kind of got him everywhere, right? In lap, out lap, pit stop, pretty impressive. Now Christopher Bell and these guys, there's a couple of strategies here. Like one, if you get a yellow, you're going to look pretty good. because you have a majority of the field lap down, so you'll have instant track position. The other strategy is you run long on this set of tires, come in, and you'll have fresher tires for the final run of the race. Sometimes it's hard to make up the track position. But remember, everybody on pit road doesn't have the same amount of tires left. So some of this is kind of where you are in your race.
Again, Denny Hamlin with about a 1 second advantage over Tyler Reddick. They have already been to pit road, won't need to come back if a caution doesn't come out. Everybody else still going through their green flag pit stops. Bell, Suarez, Byron, McDowell, and Gilliland still to come to pit road. There's Byron now.
And to Steve's point about having better tires, staying out a little bit further, that's exactly what Rudy Fugle wanted to give William Byron, just a few laps better tires to see what difference it would make. You see the chassis adjustment right there, that car handling still not to his liking. In fact, they think there might be a little bit of damage on that diffuser from that early spin. William Byron done with service.
As the 24 finishes his service, now the 20 of Bell, who was the leader of the race, has pitted from the lead. Fresher tires, so if you put tires on now and a caution comes out in just a few laps, you can stay on the racetrack. Dave, the 20 coming all the way down to pit stall 1 in front of you.
And you can tell he's been in the wall. Those Goodyear tires no longer say Goodyear on the right side. He'll get 4 more of them here. He said the balance is okay. Let's see if they can have, they're not having a smooth stop. That jack didn't go up, did it? I don't believe so. So that will slow him down.
And once again, the jack dropped on the right side. And they've experienced that before. And it happens on a pivotal stop here at Kansas as well.
It's 2 weeks in a row they've had some kind of an issue with Jack on the right side of the car. Critical mistake.
Suarez still scored as the race leader. McDowell, Gilliland yet to come to pit road. And Parker, the 34 of McDowell. What's their plan as they run second?
Well, Rick, trying to salvage a day with what I would term the NASCAR version of a Hail Mary here. Travis Peterson came on the radio to tell Michael we are going to go as far as we possibly can, which could be another 20 laps or so in this run. Basically just trying to see if they can catch a yellow, as you alluded to, Steve, or have some sort of strategy go their way with going long on this cycle here for the 34 team. Remember, involved in that incident with the 2 car, got some damage, and just trying to salvage their playoff hopes with a bit of a Hail Mary call here in terms of strategy. And Steve, sometimes you just have to do that, right? As a team, you got to find a way and see if you can maybe roll the dice and have something come your way.
Well, Travis Peterson has done a nice job this year of being aggressive when required, and this, I think, is one of those moments, right? Had a wreck last week, came in minus 19, had a good qualifying effort, but overall just didn't continue. Parker just mentioned contact with the 2, has some damage. There's Travis on the pit box. I mentioned earlier on baby watch, so he has a lot going on. But at this point, stay out there, a caution, and the 34 will be on the lead lap, can come and put fresh tires and score way more points than if they just followed everybody else down pit road.
Here's battle right here, yeah, yep. The 5 and the 4, they've been going at it. Larson and Harvick right behind them is Busch. Ahead of them is Blaney. Eric Jones is driven away from this pack.
Jones is able to get in front of Chase Elliott as well. He's running 7th. Keselowski is 6th.
Nice work. He can't do anything with you when he block his air.
Hamlin's worked his way up to the 2nd spot now on those fresher tires. Reddick running in the 4th position just behind Michael McDowell.
He's going to go around McDowell in the front straightaway here off into turn 1. Trying to keep pace of Hamlin. In his mind, obviously, Reddick thinks the race is between him and the 11 car if this cycle continues. So he's trying to keep him in the distance right there in front. And that's the gap right there between those 2 cars. It's kind of like been the gap since we got going here on this run. Reddick just not quite quick enough to beat that 11, and the 11's not using the entire racetrack either, Jeff. We talked about that several laps ago, how he's running a little bit low on the racetrack, doing things really to be smart about where he runs, not putting his car in risk of getting into the fence. But he's got a little more pace if he needs it.
Yeah, it seems like the last long run, the 11 got away from the 45 of Reddick. See Reddick now changing his line a little bit, running a little bit lower. A lot's going to happen in 38 laps. The car's changed a great deal.
Track's changing as well. This part of the day, you're getting a little shadow cast across the racetrack in certain areas. Temperatures changing in the racetrack surface. The car's kind of tightening up a little bit in the latter part of this race.
And will it go green all the way to the end? Will the crews come back into play if there's a late caution?
Yeah, this battle rages on. You heard the spotter on the 4, Tim Feedaway. He told Kevin Harvick, he said he can't do anything with you when you block his air. Harvick's running up the racetrack about 3/4 of the way, and Larson's trying to get right against the boards to get clean air. He almost got next to Harvick the last corner, but this time Harvick goes to the top. Larson going to try to go underneath him. They're going to come down the back straightaway side by side. Larson with a side draft. Now I can guarantee you there's going to be a huge push right here into corner entry, slide up in front of Harvick. Kim.
As the 99 of Daniel Suarez finally makes his stop, crew chief Travis Mack was just trying to keep him out on the racetrack, hoping for a caution. They said we're waiting for a yellow. It never came, so you saw the service complete. 11 finishes of 11th or worse in the last 12 races for this team, so they were just looking for something to go their way. Not the case.
So Larson's been able to clear Harvick, but it's Hamlin and Reddick 1 and 2 once again. 1.4 seconds separate the two. Little fresher tires for Daniel Suarez as he just came off of pit road trying to unlap himself from the 11 of Denny Hamlin, and Hamlin's going to try to fight back on the outside and keep him a lap down. But it's been Hamlin out front for 37 laps. as Hamlin won here earlier this year. And as a matter of fact, Hamlin, the winningest driver at Kansas with 4 wins already in his Cup career.
Always seems to run well here when we come to Kansas, and trying to capitalize now when the Toyotas are really good. His own team, 2311, has been strong here for several years now.
Denny trying to
struggling with his lap traffic.
Yeah, he's trying to stay in front of the lap traffic, but he can't do it.
Yeah, the last couple laps has allowed that 45 of Reddick to close in just a little bit. Reddick's moved right up against the wall to try to find max speed up there, while Denny's still working the middle and the bottom of the racetrack.
Tyler Reddick, again, it's about a second that separate the top 2. 28 laps to go.
Such a balance for Reddick to try to go after this win if he can, but he's sitting right now 50 above the cut line if this race finishes right here. He'd love to be holding the trophy at the end of this race, and I think any other week, if we were running the spring, we'd see him up against the wall and maybe hitting the wall a little bit, trying to find as much as he could to catch this 11. But while he'd love to win, he doesn't want to do anything to detrimental toward what he's earned today in the points to move forward into the rounds of the playoffs. And his owner's out front. So he can't, if he gets up there with the opportunity to race Denny, how hard does he race him, right?
Well, I'm guessing Hamlin would hope that he'd race him fair, but hard.
Yeah, it's not an envious position to be in, I suppose.
Parker.
And guys, if Tyler Reddick's going to beat that 11 car and his co-owner Denny Hamlin, I think he's going to have to find something pretty special, because listening to the radio of that 11 car, it's very calm, and it's all about the word management is what Chris Gabehart has been telling them. Just manage this gap, manage your car right now over the course of this run. They've been instructing him when that 45 goes to the wall, saying how committed he is to the wall. They feel that's the only way they maybe will get beat is if that 45 is something special up top, Kim.
Well, what are they telling Tyler Reddick with Denny Hamlin out the front windshield? Take a listen.
Still looking really good, big picture-wise, so just take care of it like you did in stage 2 and work on entry speed, if anything.
And Junior was right on the nose in what he was talking about, because crew chief Billy Scott told me this morning that Tyler is an aggressive driver by nature, so sometimes he needs a reminder that leaving the weekend with a top 3 can be considered a win versus pushing too hard or putting himself in a compromising situation. And Dave, they came back on the radio, said, big picture on the long run, you are still wide open in the middle. We got to save the right rear till the end of the race.
One of the reasons why Brad Keselowski finished 6th at Darlington last week was because he was not on the playoff troubles list. I believe, unless I'm missing something, he's not on it again today. He's been strong, not as strong as he'd like to be, but staying off the playoff troubles list, guys, that can earn you a top spot at the end of these races.
Yeah, Keselowski's been racing smart. Obviously, as an owner and driver, a lot on his mind and a different perspective that he brings to each race now. Want to give a shout out to Sheldon Creed, driving the 78. It is his first Cup Series start of his career. Career spans back quite a ways. In 2018, he was an ARCA Racing Series champion. In 2020, he was a Truck Series champion. Right now, he's running in the Xfinity Series. Is a playoff driver as those start for the Xfinity Series in Bristol next week. But his first start in the Cup Series has been clean. He is right now running in the 29th position, even though he is 2 laps down, but a clean race for Sheldon Creed in his Cup debut.
A driver having a great year, a career year, to be honest. The 7 of Corey LaJoie you see on the side of the car. Gainbridge, that was announced as a financial partner, a sponsor, a month, 6 weeks ago, and really has showed improvement on the 7 car, using that money in the right locations. You see him currently running 20th. This is a driver that has 227 career starts, still looking for that first win, but each race they seem to improve. Announced that he's returning to Spire again next year, continue to build a program around Corey LaJoie.
Back in 21st place, the 42 car of Carson Hocevar continues to have a reasonable day. This is his 3rd Cup start. He had a 17th place run last week at a very difficult racetrack in Darlington. This kid right here moving on into the next round of the playoffs for the Truck Series, and he may be a driver we see full-time in the Cup Series next year. He may skip the Xfinity Series altogether. We know going into this car right here next year, John Hunter Nemechek, yesterday's winner in the Xfinity Series, trying to battle for a championship there. There's a great shot of Joe Nemechek, his win here in 2004. John Hunter down there on the bottom right. Now John Hunter will look to be a full-time Cup Series driver next year in that 42 car.
And John Hunter's got to feel good about going to that 42 car. His teammate next year will be Eric Jones in the 43. Eric Jones has shown some speed at times this year. Last 7 races, 3 top 10s, ran top 10 Darlington last week, over 60% of his laps in the last 2 races in the top 10. Eric Jones showing some speed, Parker.
Right, the car he's trying to hold off there as he dives to the bottom is Chase Elliott in that 9 car, and it's been interesting listening to Chase's radio. He's led 47 laps in this race, and since that point, he's asked for almost no adjustments. He keeps saying the balance is good. I don't know what else I'd want it to do better. They just don't quite have maybe the speed as those front 3 cars, but really a competitive day for the 9, a car that's handling well. He's been very happy with, just doesn't quite have the speed in that 9 car, Dave.
Ty Gibbs is running 10th, and you might say, yeah, well, you know, 10th for the 54, no big deal. Well, his weekend started very poorly yesterday when on the 2nd lap of practice, he had a tire go down, and they destroyed that primary car. Didn't get any laps in the backup, then they've been working on it all day long. Last couple of stops ago, he told the team they nailed it on the setup, and Ty is working into the top 10, Kim.
A solid day for Alex Bowman, running in the 13th, a little shy of what they wanted. They were looking for top 10s in these last collection of races in the Cup Series, but Alex Bowman just has not had the luck lately. It's been a mixed bag in terms of finishes, so they wanted a clean race car at the end of this race. Right now, Alex Bowman running in the 13th position, Parker.
And Kim, for the 34 team of Mike McDowell, the Hail Mary attempt comes to a close here with 17 laps to go. That is as far as Travis Peterson was going to let Michael McDowell go on their fuel situation. They'll do 4 Goodyear tires here in Sunoco Fuel, trying to just salvage a day here, a tough day at Kansas here in the playoffs for the 34 team.
2.4, now 2.5 seconds separating Hamlin and Reddick. It's the longest green flag stretch today, over 72 laps.
Well, and you see what that makes the current point situation look like with 1 race remaining after this one at Bristol. Larson has the win from last week. Hamlin leads. Reddick, that's what we heard about the big picture, running second, plus 50 has to be a good feeling. Really, the shocker for me is Truex at -2, the regular season champ. When you look at history, has made it the majority of the time, perhaps every time, all the way to the round of 8. And now we have the regular season champ giving up all of his advantage. There's a chance he could go to Bristol below the cut line. Couldn't be a worse start to the playoffs for the 19 of Truex.
You see that 5 of Larson trying to get by Eric Jones, and that will put him up into the 5th position now. There have been numerous issues for playoff drivers today, and it all started with the guy you just mentioned, Martin Truex Jr. right rear tire going down, a puncture for the right rear, into the wall he goes and out of the race.
Yeah, the 24, he goes around, said he was just building free and needed to back it down, spun around, maybe some slight damage, seemed to have lost a little bit of speed, and then a fire on pit road. Scary situation. Crew member okay though.
And pit road continues to be a problem, even though a crew change on this 20 car. See trouble in the right rear. And then the 12 car, Blaney, left front slow, had to go jack the car back up, lost a lot of spots.
Bubba Wallace had an issue after a strong run early in this race. Right rear tire flat on that 23 car. Contact with the wall did a lot of damage to the suspension. He's lost a few laps to repair that.
Then the 1 of Ross Chastain, pit crew penalty, crew member over the wall too soon. Had to start at the tail end, and unfortunately that led into the longest green flag run of the day, up to 14th, doing a nice job recovering.
Chase Elliott just takes a spot away from this 6 car for 3rd. McDowell back on the racetrack with those new tires, going to look really good right here down in turn 3 and 4.
Well, these playoffs, they just bring the pressure. We saw all the mistakes. Think about this. That one team of Chastain, that's the first penalty they've had all year. And it happened at, one of the worst times in the playoffs, and it just shows you the pressure's not just on the drivers, it's also on those teams.
You know, you and I had a conversation in the pre-race show about Joey Logano, the champ. Now, in 2022, he didn't set the world afire through the regular season, had an okay year, but then really showed up. So I went back and kind of dug in what the 22's playoffs looked like a year ago. The worst he was in points was 5th. And at no point was he closer to the cut line than 18 points. So when you look at Logano in the points down near around the cut line at only +2, I mean, it is real. This, you know, compared to last year, this is unfortunately the worst we've seen the 22 perform in the last couple of years.
I think shocking. I think that's the word I would use. The position that Logano is in right now is shocking.
So it's great for us because we've seen what he will do when he's got his back against the wall. And imagine him going to Bristol with his back against the wall.
Will Byron trying to get by him to take another spot, another point.
Joey's not going to go down without a fight. That car can't be a lot of fun. And I'll be surprised. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't heard a lot of radio chatter out of this driver. I mean, this is the type of run that really a lot of drivers unravel.
He's racing pretty hard right now against that 24. He did not want him to get by him.
Yeah, we talked to Logano this morning, and he said he hoped to be able to finish top 10. That was his hope, and that's just not the speed that you want coming into the playoffs. Unless something changes, he's not going to get a top 10 today.
Well, with 9 laps to go at a track where everybody's right around the fence, where we have seen people have some tire issues, the 11 of Denny Hamlin is hoping he's seen clean and green for 8 more laps, 2.2 seconds over Reddick, 9.5 back to the 9, as we see a battle between Harvick and 54.
So Harvick lost a spot to Bell. That was a point. He's right now +8. This is going to lose another spot, so could drop to +7 to the cut line. He's fighting back, trying to keep that. I mean, this matters. That could be the difference in moving on to the next round, battling for this spot right here with 8 laps to go.
Oh, trouble in the turn 1.
Chris Buescher. Another playoff driver.
That's a right rear tire issue, it looks like.
Yeah.
No caution yet.
None, but will the tire, basically carcass, stay on the car? He's up against the wall trying to get down off the, there's the yellow. I think you have to throw the yellow with a car that slow up against the wall down the backstretch.
He was running in 12th place, 24 points to the good in the playoffs when he had this problem.
So Buescher, who had a great last 6 races, and you see the carcass about to come off of that wheel.
How did you know that was going to happen, Steve? You just mentioned that a couple laps ago about tire issues.
Well, I've put myself in the position of these crew chiefs on the pit box, and you know what they are doing, to your point, is they're asking themselves every 5 or 10 laps, if the caution comes out, what do I do and what do we need? Now here I think the decision to pit is clear. Everybody with 40 or 30 laps on their tires, everybody has to come to pit road. But now with this run going to be maybe just a couple laps, you are definitely not going to put the same setup in. Air pressure changes. We want to pump the tires up like it's qualifying. If you fire off tight, we want to free it up. If we fire off loose, we want to tighten up. This is all going to be about a short run, a sprint, almost to the level of qualifying.
And we've seen trouble and problems. Here's Chris Buescher Jr. getting into turn 1 with the right rear down.
He is so lucky and fortunate this happened on the straightaway. That keeps him out of the fence.
Toe link and everything looked okay.
Yep, that keeps him out of the fence. No toe link issues, no delays on pit road repairing that. I mean, it's disappointing. He'll be sad and upset that this has happened to him late in the race. He lost a lot of track position, but he does get to go out there on these last few laps and try to regain some of it back. He'll have to start at the back of the tail end for pitting too soon, but won't be losing laps on pit road making repairs to that car.
All right, crew chief, I'm going to throw a scenario at you. Would you think about changing 2 tires if it's only 3 laps, maybe 2 laps, a sprint to the finish?
That used to be in the playbook more when you had 5 lug nuts, because the difference between 2 and 4 is a huge gap. But now they change tires so fast. The fast stops are going to be 9 seconds, maybe a touch under. We saw Larson's group do an 8.9 second stop. So if it takes 4.5 or 5 to change rights, you just don't gain enough positions. You know there's going to be 4 tires right on your rear bumper, and the grip and the track is so wide, you can't protect. What can the driver do? We're going to see 4 and 5 wide. Now it's about absolute perfection on the pit stop and the right adjustments.
I think that's the key. We've seen so many mistakes on pit road. Now is the time to execute. You've been waiting for this moment. If you're a pit crew, you got a shot to win this race. Let's make it happen.
Also,
listen to Denny Hamlin.
Colts or Tornado. Any thoughts? I don't know how much of a gap we've got over, other cars. I think that's a factor. Lap cars between.
that's what I was going to talk about. Right now on this pit stop, we got a lot of lap cars between several cars, so that can affect what you want to do and can do. And also it can allow your driver to be a little more careful on speeding on pit road, how aggressive he is.
So what Denny Hamlin is talking about is, see, he's the leader, the 45 is second. You have a gap back to the 9. He can't pull up until these cars turn down onto the flat. So he's going to have a little heads up. Do I think people are going to take rights? Maybe somebody would gamble. If it's me, Rick, this is without a doubt a 4-tire pit stop.
All right, on to pit road now. All of the focus on the crew members. Kim.
Crew Chief Billy Scott saying this is exactly what we needed, a reset on a restart. It's going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires, 4 Tyler Reddick. He said it built just a little bit freer during that run, Parker.
This is the money stop for the 11 team. They were the top 3 fastest pit crews last week. We'll see what they can pull off here. It's a similar situation for the 9 car Chase Elliott down below. They're going to be 4 Goodyear tires as well. We'll see who has the fastest pit crew, Dave.
The best set of tires remaining for Brad Keselowski was the scuff set used from qualifying. And there's a lot of guys who took that 2-tire option.
So 5 spots gained by Eric Jones, Kyle Busch, Logano. We're not exactly sure, but I think that was a 2-tire stop where he gained 12 spots.
Yeah, so the 43, the 8, the 22, 2 tires, they all gained some. The Hamlin only loses 3 to guys that took 2 tires. And look how close this is, the 6, the 9, the 5. Big contact between the 5 and the 9. I actually think the 5 of Larson, look.
Oh, yeah.
Boy.
Chase was
Man.
not happy about it. He had no idea that it was Keselowski that moved him up the racetrack.
Yeah, that was, there was not much you could do in that situation. Coming off pit road, basically 4 wide.
I was getting ready to say before these two got in their feud that I think the big winner was Kyle Larson. He is now the 2nd car off pit road on 4 tires. Came on 5th. If everybody changed 4 tires, he would have stayed 5th. Now he's also in the 5th position, but 3 of those guys jumped him on 2 tires, so his pit crew really netted out like a +3.
Well, they've been the 3rd best pit crew today at this racetrack. They've been the 3rd best. Hamlin's team was the 8th best today, so great job by this 5 car. Now, you got guys out there with 2 tires, you got guys out there with 4 tires. What lane do you want to pick? I think that is a major question that Denny Hamlin's going to have to answer himself. He's the first guy on 4. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the bottom? Do you want to go to the top? I think some of that has to do with who's lining up in front of you. I also believe the top gives you more places to go. You should be able to rip the boards and make up some spots. However, if the guys pull up in front of you, it's just going to kill your momentum.
It's going to be a 2-lap shootout, it looks like, as we get ready, well, potentially overtime, as this one was going to go 267, and Suarez stays out. We'll see what this ends up working out for him, listening to his radio.
If everything goes to hell, the only person that can beat us that was behind us is the 14th, so why not? There's going to be some 2-tire stops here. We got a chance. I'd start cleaning them up, though.
I would start cleaning him up. He was on pit road at lap 231, which was 33 laps ago.
You're going to have cars, you're going to have the 99 on old tires, 4 old tires trying to launch. You're going to have cars with, 2 old tires on the left side trying to launch. There'll be a lot of challenges for these cars to try to get rolling in the restart zone. And then you got new tires coming from behind, a lot of pressure coming from behind.
So where do you choose?
Well,
the 99 has, I do not want to be in the 99's lane if he's not going to go.
I think you definitely, if you got old tires, you don't want to be on the bottom. You get bottled up on the bottom, have to lift, you'll never recover in 2 laps.
Well, let's see where the 99 goes. He's going to go to the bottom. The 2nd and 3rd went to the outside. Logano on the bottom. Hamlin, first guy on 4, he goes to the top. Here comes Keselowski. I'm sorry, that's the 45 of Reddick. He chose the bottom.
Well, I think the 11 and the 5 are in a great position to use those fresh tires. 3 wide, 4 wide. They're going to get to the right and go around the top of 1 and 2 the best they can. The question is how it all works when they get to the exit of 2, and will there be a lane available?
So look, if you're Reddick, here's your job. Here's what it is you have to do. You have got to get momentum at the right place so that when you get to the start-finish line, you can immediately hang a left. Remember the rule. You cannot change lanes until you get to the start-finish line. Then you just got to ship it in there and trust those 4 tires. That's the inside lane with Reddick. That's his goal.
I love that idea, but I think the 22 knows he's lined up behind the 99 of Suarez on 4 old tires, so the 22 is going to be trying to make that same move. Logano's not in this restart to push the 99 into the lead. He's looking for a way to the inside, 3 wide, as soon as possible.
And if you're the 11 of Hamlin,
Bad enough, take some. Let's go.
if you're the 11 of Hamlin, you also want to be able to get forward momentum and enter 1 and be able to just sail it down in there on the outside.
2 laps to determine a potential advancement in the playoffs or maybe a win. Green flag back in the air. Overtime presented by Credit One Bank.
Hamlin was sleeping on the start. He did not get a good launch at all.
Logano to the inside, 3 wide. Can he clear? Here comes Jones on the outside.
2-tire stop for Jones as he works that outside. Larson loses a little momentum. Here comes the 8 of Kyle Busch as well.
It's a big run from behind on the back straightaway.
Hamlin and Larson contact into 3.
Reddick now with momentum coming to the outside.
Reddick dives down low, 3 wide. He's going to be clear going into turn 1.
One more time around. Reddick out in front now. A big run out of the 11, but the door is closed by Jones. Eric Jones running second, Hamlin is third. Tyler Reddick looking for his 5th career win. Reddick out of 4. He's going to advance to the round of 12. Reddick wins at Kansas.
Let's go! Yes! All right! You are awesome, buddy. You are awesome. That is awesome.
The 45 has won 3 of the last 4 races here with 3 different drivers. Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and now Tyler Reddick.
Reddick going up high here for the run off of turn 4. He's going to have the momentum. Set this up perfectly. These 2 drivers slowing each other down side by side for the lead. There's nothing they can do to defend the run he had. Everything worked well for him on the restart to put him in that position.
That's a massive win for Reddick.
23-11 continues their control and dominance.
But also
Here in
a
Kansas.
massive change. That strategy right there, that call for the 22. He finished 5th. And that is a big gain from where they were going to run if that caution had to come out.
Yeah, for Logano, it's worth about 10 points. That decision.
Steering wheel already off for Reddick as he's celebrating. Burning it down right up against the fence. And he's going to climb out while he's doing his burnout. This checkered flag moment brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. What a run for Reddick. And what a show he has put on for the fans. Dave's down there with him.
Yeah, Rick, they love that. They didn't see anything like that before. The steering wheel maybe, but then to stand on the gas and do that, man, that was great. And you are through to the round of 12, Tyler.
Yeah, I knew Newman said I could get my hand out my wheel, but I got my whole body out doing that burnout. But just an outstanding job by this whole 2311 team. I mean, we had really good pace, but just couldn't get ahead of Denny there. But chaos ensued. You know, people stayed out. Some took 2 tires, and the bottom lane opened up. Pretty crazy.
Describe that, going from 5th to 1st, and like you said, there are all kinds of different strategies. You had the four fresh.
Yeah, 4 fresh tires and send it in there and slide up. So just hats off, like I said, to everybody at 2311. This Toyota Camry TRD had a lot of pace. And we've had a really fast cars with this money line scheme, and it's really great to get it back to victory lane.
And I think showing everyone else, too, that the 45 is to be reckoned with all the way to Phoenix, right?
Well, I hope so, but I just think we came here in the spring. I broke the streak, and I didn't get the 45 back in victory lane, so I came back here motivated to get it where it belongs.
Extra motivation. Rick, remember last year it ended in disappointment for Tyler here. This year, the big win.
Yeah, it's the first time that Reddick is going to advance out of the round of 16, and another landmark race for 2311. They get a win in their 100th race. Take a look at the restart.
I would have never guessed this is going to work out for Reddick down there on the inside in the 3rd row, but man, we called it the 11th car. Denny just did not get a great start. Kind of relieved a lot of pressure on the 45. He's going to be able to slide up here and do everything he needs to do to get to the top of the racetrack and create that momentum. Mark.
Yeah, guys, and Denny led 63 laps, possibly had the best race car here today. What happened on that final restart? It just looked like you didn't get going.
Well, the 5 was just laying back so much. I was trying to back up to him. So I should just kind of focus forward probably. You know, give the 45 an opportunity to get up there in front of us. So just, you know, kind of sleeping on the restart, looking in the rear view instead of looking in the front. But hats off to the Yahoo team, Camry TRD team, just another really, really fast car. It just didn't need that caution at the end.
Guys, that's the point there, right? Watching the back, trying to time those restarts, just mistimed at the end.
So Tyler Reddick now with the shredded rear tires. We'll see if he can make his way to the Ruoff Mortgage victory lane. The 27-year-old from Corning, California, used some great racing on the final restart to get out front and grab the win and that automatic advancement with the win to the round of 12 now. When so many playoff drivers had issues, Tyler Reddick capitalized on his opportunity.